And like that, we are live. I'm sitting down for today's stream on Tomb of Horrors. Welcome to the Condor DM show. But it's because it's hot. It's a very hot day. That's why I've had the big light off. That's why it's a little bit of a different setting. We got daylight, but sitting down. Tomorrow's gonna be hot, but I'm going to be up on my feet anyway. Better prepared for that, I promise you. But today is extremely hot. It's okay here where I'm at right now, but that's because I'm not pushing the big light on. I'm keeping things as cool as I can for today. But it is the first Dungeons and Dragons stream of a 2-week special focus on old school D&D. And tonight I'm covering the module Tomb of Horrors, made in 1975 for tournament play, early tournament play. Came out for AD&D 1E later. Sir Ock, Demi-Lich. He became a Demi-Lich. It's a lot of weird things. Oh, let's see. Oh, here we are. Miles is actually early. Usually I'm way ahead of this stuff. No, I just started, dude. When you hear about Tomb of Horrors, you're going to think, man, that's dungeon play, right? You probably heard it's dungeon play. It is. It's not a massive dungeon. It's for high-level gaming from levels, I think, 10 to 14. I want to note that last year, I had the person who originally ran it for me help me put this whole stream together. Because I just got to be honest, I got good advice, but it's from the guy who ran it. I played the module. I've never ran a module in my life. I played only a few modules. Temple of Elemental Evil and Tomb of Horrors. Though there were a few modules I did try, ironically, that were Conan and Rid Sonja, which I'll be covering next week. But this is a 2-week special focus on old school Dungeons and Dragons, and the first stream is Tomb of Horrors. It's going to be really good. All right. Tomb of Horrors, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to give the whole thing away before we get into it. I'll just say it's hot for high level play. I could answer some questions, but I mean, really, it's a module. There's so much to say about it that even answering too many questions would be, I think it would spoil it. So we'll leave the topic alone for a bit. But I did see something. I seen a video put out by a person I recently interviewed, Sam OG, another YouTuber, and it was about the Quantum Ogre, right? I'm going to say something about the Quantum Ogre that's going to be negative in a sense, but I think I have a positive take on my approach to this. I think it's okay. It is okay. You can't. I'm not talking about making a rule, trying to tell people what to do. You can do whatever you want to do at your table. I want to make that clear. It's not about telling people what to do, but I think it's okay to have a higher standard in the hobby that puts pressure on people when they can do better. When they can do better. And I think there's nothing wrong with having a higher standard that puts social pressure on people in the hobby to do a better job, especially when things are achievable. And it's by not saying anything, what you're doing is allowing a lower standard. So a standard is being set either by saying something or not saying something, right? So let me explain what the Quantum Ogre is. It's pretty simple. The Quantum Ogre is the illusion of choice. It's like, say you had an encounter set and there's a right and left turn. So say to the right, there would be an encounter, but you have planned nothing for the left turn. But if somebody takes the left, you're simply going to have them run into the same encounter anyway. Or there's a path to what seems like towards a tower. They could turn off the path, but you're going to have them come to the tower anyway. It's an illusion of choice. It's the game acts like you're acting as a DM, like or game master, whatever game you're running. You present a choice to players, but if they take one that seems opposite of going towards something, they'll end up there anyway. Right? Okay. I'm going to first call Quantum Ogre a lazy game master tactic. Not a justified one, a lazy one. Okay, let's start. That's my first standard set. I'm calling anyone who does Quantum Ogre lazy. Out of the gate, lazy. Not a tactic, not a strategy, laziness. I will not qualify the Quantum Ogre as a technique. I will call it simply what I believe it is, laziness. Pure mental laziness. Dungeons and Dragons in many games, either by you knowing them or the game itself, offers you ways to randomize stuff in the game. You can improvise, but you could even use some of the options some games have. Say the encounter is to the right, but your players decide to go left with their characters. It is not impossible for you to improvise something else happening. It is not impossible for you to improvise something down a different path where it's not going towards the tower. In old school, we would call this the sandbox freedom option. There can be an exception I call the social contract. So social contract is like, say, if you have your players agree to a one-shot adventure in most cases, but they agree they'll go to a tower, they'll go do a thing. Well, at that point, that's an exception. So there I would say there's an exception. You shouldn't even have to apply the Quantum Ogre at that point, right? The social contract should just simply tell players, I'm not going to bother giving you multiple choices. You don't bother having to trick your players. That's a social contract for one shot. You're going to the tower, go to the tower. And if you guys go to turn off away from the tower, you're breaking the social contract with the DM in a one-shot scenario where, say, the one-shot agreement between you and the social contract and your game master is to go to a tower. Go to the tower, right? Even then, some improvising has to be warranted, and I will still call the Quantum Ogre overall laziness. If you bother to give a right or left turn, and the encounter is on the right, but your players go to the left, there has to be something else there, even if it means, even under the conditions that your players will have their characters go to the tower regardless of making that choice. There has to be something else there. If not, I call the Quantum Ogre. Let me go back to this. The Quantum Ogre, I will not qualify it as a technique for a game master. It's not a technique. It's laziness. Mental laziness. Let me go back to why I'm saying this. I'm setting a standard. I'm not telling you what to do at your table. You do whatever you want to do at your table. If we say nothing or we say something, either way, a standard is set. Either we say nothing and the standard is down here. You can be a lazy game master, and the encounter that's to the right, you just make the players with their characters encounter going to the left. Illusion of choice. It's not a technique. It's laziness. So I want to call it that because I want to put the standard up here. So it's social pressure on people, not to tell them what to do at their table. That's your business, right? But if you come out to the public dialogue, so say you leave your table What you do at your table is your business. What you and your players agree to. But if you come out to the public conversation where we're talking about it as a community, and you say you do the quantum ogre, everybody in the community should be calling you lazy, not making a rule up, not making a law that you have to change, but it's social pressure. Standard is up here. And by putting a standard up here, the social pressure can cause people to make that better effort because you can improvise. You can put a random something else in that place. You can make it not an illusion of choice, but an actual choice, right? If they go left, they're going to get something different, right? You can do that. You can predetermine stuff, but if you don't predetermine what the left choice is, you improvise. Improvises, make it up as you go. DMs, game masters are capable of doing this unless they decide to be lazy. And what I'm saying is, if some game master casually comes out to the community and says, "Yeah, well, I do the illusion of choice," that he should be pressured, ridiculed, laughed at, made fun of. Social pressure on the game master. It should be called what it is: laziness. And that is to put social pressure. And the idea is raising the bar up here. And what happens for players that are coming into our community? That puts pressure on guys to run a better game, to produce something better. And that's better for all people coming into the hobby. Because social pressure can work. So there's a number of people it's going to work on. Some people won't. Right? But some people who are openly being lazy because of a low bar set, low standard, can suddenly start doing better if they think, if I go to the public and say what I'm doing, or my players tell the community what I'm doing in my game, I'm going to be called lazy. It's not going to be called the technique I'm doing. It's going to be called laziness. And I'm going to be basically labeled as a lazy game master. I think that's perfect. That social pressure. Same thing I say this to the community. And this is where I'll actually be fair to players. Some people might get mad at me and say, well, that's wrong to do. But don't we put social pressure on players to pay attention, sit up, and play better? Oh, we do, don't we? And if they don't, do we call what they're doing a technique? Or do we call it what it is? Laziness, half-assing. And why do we do that? It's to put social pressure on them. If a player comes out and says, basically describes them being half-assed or lazy, people in the community will shame them, laugh at them, ridicule them. And that sets a higher bar, sets a better standard, puts pressure on players to play better, and is better for the overall hobby. For the people that want to run games, new people that want to run games, the pressure on players to play better makes it a lot easier for them to run the players that are going to play well. So pressure and raising the bar up is fine. You just got to remember, you can't classify that as me coming to your table and telling you what to do. That's a way of trying to dismiss social pressure you don't want to face. You just don't want to face it. No one's coming to your table and telling you how to play or how to run. So to paint that type of social pressure as people coming to your table and telling you what to do, that's a lie. And that's a way to avoid proper social pressure that players must face. So must game masters. And overall, the quality of gaming goes up with social pressure. It improves for the people entering the hobby. And it improves because, well, what if the guy at home doesn't want to be laughed at by the community? Doesn't want to be ridiculed as being lazy? He'll decide not to be. And if a game master decides not to be lazy, does that benefit their players? Yes, it does. What about the social pressure on players to sit up, pay attention? If players feel pressure by that and they don't want people to know that they're going to half-ass, and they decide, even privately, just to avoid any shame publicly, to sit up and pay attention, so when they go to the public, they can say, yeah, I do this. That's social pressure working. And that's not controlling somebody. That's making them not want to be embarrassed by social pressure. And what does it do? It improves the game, not just for the people they play the game with, but it even improves it for them. A game master who can improvise will have more fun, realize that they can do this stuff, they won't half-ass, and it will improve their own experience and the players playing with them. When players pay attention and sit up and they're not lazy, it doesn't just improve the experience for the other people, it improves the experience for the person sitting up and paying attention. But that's social pressure. That's not you telling somebody what to do at their table. And we got to make sure we can separate those two things. And there's nothing wrong. I think, they always say, what's the use of the community or the talking heads or the way things work out here? What's the use of the conversation? Just game. Well, I say there is some uses for the public dialogue. And one use is to put pressure on people to play the game better. It's like, hey, if you come out here bragging that you do Quantum Ogre, the rest of us should all be calling you not someone who uses a technique, because I won't classify or qualify that as a technique. We should all start calling you a lazy game master. And again, we're not controlling what you do at your table. You can still walk away from what we do and go to your table and play the game how you want. So it's a lot of people do that when they don't want to hear certain things. They don't want to be shamed or embarrassed, right? So they'll paint what you're doing as something you're not doing. Because to say that you're telling people what to do at their table, well, that's considered bad. And what does that mean? Now they can call your good public shaming bad. Get it? It's a way to avoid the public shame of their terrible gameplay or their terrible, running, ways, right? The way they run the game. If they're terrible at running the game, they don't want to be laughed at because of that. They don't want to be called lazy when they are. So what do they do to avoid good public shaming, good public pressure in the community? They'll say that you're actually coming to the table and telling them what to do when that's not happening whatsoever. So there's my take on the Quantum Ogre. It's not a technique. I don't qualify it as a technique. It is just we've given a name to laziness. We've labeled a version of laziness by game masters. It is pure laziness because improvising, making it up as you go, that's the technique. Right? That's something you got to do as a game master, is be able to improvise. Right? It's an expectation. Every game expects it from you. Right? Even in the text of just about every game where you say it isn't just direct on something, it says you have to improvise. You have to improvise. You have to improvise. At no point does any game in its text, like when I was growing up, say the avoiding improvising and in its place doing the Quantum Ogre is a technique. It's not. It's laziness. So don't let people, like, public pressure. The community is good for one thing. Public pressure, social pressure, to make people that come here bragging about terrible playing, terrible game mastering, they should be ridiculed, laughed at, and made fun of. Again, you're not going to their table and telling them how to play or run the game. So do not let them falsely paint what you're doing as that. What they do at their table is their private business, right? All I'm saying is, okay, do what you want at your table. But if you enter the public square and you come to the community and you open your fucking mouth here and brag about your fucking laziness as a player or game master, we should all ridicule you and laugh at you and call it what it is. You're fucking lazy. Period. End of story. And that's the type of social pressure you put on people. And if they don't want to be called lazy, well, they better hope, either players better hope a game master doesn't come and call them out in public. They better not come here and brag about their laziness. If not, the rest of us will use social pressure to embarrass them. But still, what they do at their table is their private business. Nobody is going to their table. I'm saying we stay away from their table. It's when they when they leave their table and come to the public square and say, "Hey, I do Quantum Ogre." Oh, that's not a technique, man. It just means you're a lazy piece of shit. That's what it means. You're lazy. Stop being a fucking lazy game master. Go do better. You can't tell me what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what you should do. But what you do at your table is your business. I'm still not going to come to your table. I'm telling you what I think in the open square, in public. Sorry if that bothers people, but that's my take. And I think we should have been doing that for a long time. And we actually do it on players. That's why I don't get why people would be there. But guess what? There is a thing set. It's like, how convenient. You can publicly pressure players in public. You can go on about them in this way. And nobody says that you're going to the table and telling them how to play the game. It's just, you got to understand it's the same thing. You're not going to a guy's table if he comes to you and says, "I did the Quantum Ogre." You're lazy, game master. That's all you're doing is doing what you do to players. If a player comes and you find out in public that this player over here is like half-assing or gets into an actual play on YouTube or something, like in public is sitting down, like half-assing, not paying attention, we call that out. We socially shame people for that, players for that. And nobody qualifies that as you going to the table and telling players how to play the game. What's happening is when these issues come to the public, this is what we think, this is what we say, and it's social pressure to get players to play better. That's what we should be doing in all cases like this. As a game master, Quantum Ogre is not a technique. Improvisation is what's called for. Basically, all a Quantum Ogre is doing is letting you avoid the job you should be doing as a game master. That the game text expects you to improvise when you have to. When it comes to there's right and left turn. The game is not saying do the encounter on either side. If the encounter's to the right, you need to improvise what's on the left. And even the game assists you. The game gives you random tables of possible encounters and ideas. Not so you can do the Quantum Ogre. The Quantum Ogre is avoiding doing the work you are meant to do as a game master. It's laziness. You're just not doing the improviser. It's mental laziness. There you go. That's about 20 minutes spent on that topic. There's my take on the Quantum Ogre. I've never qualified it as a technique. I don't think it's a technique at all. I think we're just giving laziness a label. We're giving half-assed terrible game mastering a label. And it just basically the label makes it sound like it's a technique that could be just debated. But I say it's not a technique at all. There's no debate. It's not a technique. It's laziness. It's mental laziness. There's no debate. It's not a technique. Quantum Ogre is just a label for laziness. It's bottom of the barrel because it's just laziness. People are always going to look at Quantum Ogre in a negative way, but I tell them you're not looking at a technique in a negative way. What you don't understand, the reason you're seeing it as negative is because it's just laziness. That's an instinctive way to look at it, is to see it as terrible. Tomb of Horrors is trap heavy. It's not as big as you think, Philo. It's a lot of undead, demon lich, a lot of undead. There's not too many monsters. Like there's not like new monsters. There's not a lot of encounters as far as combat. Very little combat, to be honest. There's a lot of traps, but a variety of traps and puzzles and stuff. And it's not big. It is not big at all. It's actually very compact. It first came out in 1975 as an early version of tournament play. I think around 1978, I think is when it officially came out. Like as a module outside of the tournament play where it was introduced. but it is trap heavy. It is you can defeat the Tomb of Horrors. It's not easy though, and it has some of the most legendary things. Like there's a sphere of annihilation at one point. I don't want. I'll wait. We'll get to the details on that later. But sphere of annihilation means when you walk into it, you're. So, and treasure. That's another thing. You would think you're going into a dungeon like this to get. You're going to get rich if you do survive. I mean, there's some wealth to get, not much. The Tomb of Horrors is considered. It's debatable, but I would say it is probably. I would say it for my own experience, because I've only done like go to modules since I only look. I did the Temple of Elemental Evil, Tomb of Horrors. I ironically did some of the Conan modules in Rid Sonya. I would have to say my personal experience, yeah, Tomb of Horrors is the most. It was the most dangerous and hardest of the modules to play as a player. And what you think, like when you're told about it, when you first going to play it, you think it's going to be something, and it's not. And there's no cheaping out. Like the Tomb of Horrors is made to not be cheaped out. You can't wish your way through it. There's not one spell that deals with everything, because the traps and everything are very varied, and even your limitations, like say find or remove traps. You really can only sort of find traps and somewhat discover, ways you could possibly take them down. For the most part, though, you can only really find traps, like figure out there's a trap there, see it, but then you still got to take it apart. Like, more manually than just rolling dice sometimes. Right. So, and then there's puzzles, stuff like that. It's packed full. When I say encounters, there's a lot of encounters. Don't think monsters, because there's very few, and there's no new monsters. The Tomb of Horror is not about introducing you to new stuff. It's about introducing you to the game. I put it that way. Introducing you to the game. It's high level, so it's definitely not for weaker. It's not like a soft dungeon. It's meant for like levels 10 to 14. So it's high level, extremely high level. And if I keep talking, I'll give the rest of it away. So I got to limit it there, Philo. That's the most I'm going to tell you up front, right there. I won't say more. Because I mean, there's a lot. There's a bit. I got a lot to say, but I don't want to give away the whole thing before we get to it. If I keep talking, I'll give it away in 10 minutes. I mean, I could give you the basics in 10 minutes, but there's a lot that I get a lot more than 10 minutes of stuff to say, believe me. And we're saying like the fluff. It's worth knowing the details. But yeah. In the essence, I want to keep some things right to the last minute, but I'll leave it at that. If I say more, I'll give the whole thing away. It'd be useless. I get advice for it and everything. So the guy, I'm lucky because the guy who ran the Tomb of Horrors for me is still alive. And last year he was able to help me put this together. Because I only played the Tomb of Horrors. I've never ran a module, as I've told you guys many times. Though I did purposely, because they were so unique at the time. I had a friend that got the Conan and Rid Sonya modules, right? He went out of his way to get them. A well-off guy. And he begged me to play the Conan and Rid Sonya because they were so unique, because most people think of really well-known modules, like, but a lot of people I've talked to didn't even know Conan and Rid Sonya had modules. There's modules for these things. Like, yeah. Yep. Conan has a whole set. That will be next week on those. I will be covering them. So the reason I bring them up is because next week not next week. What am I saying next week? It's not part of the 2-week special. It's at the end of the month. So Tonight is Tomb of Horrors, but let me give everybody a reminder. This is the first Dungeons and Dragons stream of a 2-week special focus on these. This is the Tomb of Horrors night, of course. I had to really, because I got a number of them already ready to go. Still, ones I'm not even covering. Tomorrow night is going to be a mix: Dungeon Survival Guide, Wilderness Survival Guide, and the Manual of Planes. All 3 books I'm going to cover in one stream, and that's tomorrow. Friday, I'm going to cover Old School Essentials and the OSR. Next week, starting on the 12th, I'll be covering Lackmar or Lankmar, but the AD&D 1E version, not Dungeon Crawl Classic. Then I'll be on the 13th. I'll be taking a second look. It'll be my second stream on OD&D and Beckme. I'm calling it a second look. And then on the 14th, I'll be covering deities and demigods. The week following, on the 20th, I'll be covering one-to-one time and shared worlds for Dungeons and Dragons. And the week after that, on the 27th, I'll be covering Conan and the Rid Sonya modules by TSR. It should be pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty excited to cover those things. I don't know. I do not know how you guys are going to feel about that stuff, but if you're into it, good. If you are, sorry if I'm clicking some buttons here. Checking my notes. Making sure all is ready. There we go. Okay. But the Tomb of Horrors is tonight, and it's a really good one. And I know some people in my audience don't even know what it is. And I know there's a lot of assumptions around the Tomb of Horrors. And of course, it sounds scary, the Tomb of Horrors. Does it live up to the name? Yeah. Yeah. And it's not that you're going to be scared of the ghost or ghoulies. It's you're going to be scared of the death is in front of you all the time. So it makes you a very cautious player. It's going to put you on the edge of playing because you're going to realize it's not so much scary as in like it's trying to spook you. It's scary because it's so dangerous. And so you'll be on the edge all the time. Do I do this? Do I go around the corner? And again, I don't want to talk. I talked about randomness with the improvisation. I got to say, ironically, even though I brought that up, talking about the Quantum Ogre in the Tomb of Horrors, there's no randomness. There's no need to improvise. It's one of the only dungeons that I would say more than this, but I'll just say this just to make a point. There's no such thing as wandering monsters in the Tomb of Horror. Because the danger isn't always the fight or the monster, but everything is dangerous. Everything is dangerous. Everything is dangerous. Every move, every step is dangerous. And so it's going to put you on that fair edge of you trying to survive. Remember, it's a survival game. So if your aim is to survive, you're always a few steps away from death. So it puts you on the edge of playing. Hence the Tomb of Horrors. Is it going to spook you with ghoulies and all that? No. It's just going to keep you on the edge. That's it. Fair of on the edge of trying to survive and not die. So the Tomb of Danger would be a better name for if you were to qualify it for what it really is. The Tomb of Horrors would be the idea that ghosts are going to scare you or something. You're thinking horror in that way. The Tomb of Dangers or the Tomb of Danger would be more accurate to what it is. But there. And there's even more I haven't said. So I'm purposely going to hold back because there is some good stuff to talk about. Though, when I talk about this stuff, you're welcome to comment, ask questions as I go through the stuff. But right now, it's just sort of freehand talk. We're in Joe Rogan mode, as I call it all the time. You guys know that. I did my little quantum ogre speech at the start. I don't need people to agree with me, but my aim is not to have people agree. I'm not looking to get people to agree. It just, when I make a case, I want people to be able to understand what my case is, what I'm saying, so it's clear. I'm very on point, and I drill certain points because you can walk away disagreeing with me. That's fine, but I want you to know what it is you're disagreeing with. That's why I say details that I know are going to kill assumptions. Like, when you say certain things, especially in the tabletop role-playing game old school, because people have agendas and want to believe certain things, there's a lot of assumptions they make about what you're saying, and that way they can dismiss what you're saying so they could stay within their belief system without it being challenged. There's many reasons people are hungry to misunderstand you, and a lot of it is deceitful, right? So I like to be clear so you can at least you can say you don't agree, but you're not going to be ignorant about what it is you're disagreeing with. Like, my points are going to be so clear that you will not be confused by what I'm saying. You won't be able to say, well, you're just trying to tell me what to do at my table. No, I made that clear. That's quite the opposite. That is not what's happening at all. Oh, poor people. At least that guy left on his own. Some people will join Discord. I made a group for the open community. It's a group where it's really just for the community and not about me. It's not a Discord meant to be focused on me at all. It's supposed to be for everyone. And I told people I leave an open invite there, but it's like, if you have an issue with me, DM me, come at me personally, but don't use that. But of course, there are some old school tabletop role playing game YouTubers that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. One just recently did this tonight, who will join a Discord under a different name. And some of them are well-known guys. And they'll come in and lip off of me in the Discord or copy what the open chat is saying and show people as if there's something I'm hiding from people. It's insane. There's one YouTuber who said he had an account on one of my things as a spying in my chat. It's like, look, I'm a public figure. What I say in the chat is what you hear me say on these streams and in my videos. I don't say nothing. I swear I don't say anything in chat or in any open dialogue where I have not already said it in the stream. I don't hide anything. I understand I'm a YouTuber. I understand people want to, I guess, come at me, but I'm not embarrassed by what I think are my opinions. I'm very strong on them. Though one thing I would never do is I'm 46 years of age. I'm a grown man with a life. It's called having a life. And I would never be a pathetic loser and go on someone's Discord and do anything like that. I had guys years ago that would send me stuff from Discord, private conversations about me, where people would say stuff about me. And I admit and I did a video on this recently. I admit the first few times, like years ago, when people would send me these private conversations, even record stuff. These were guys that weren't spies of mine, because I have no spies. I don't do anything like that. That's pathetic. But they were guys that were unhappy with these people in the Discord. They were unhappy with them. They weren't like even fans of mine. It wasn't something like that. I had no spies or nothing. But they come to me anyway after they get pissed off at some of the people, and they'd be like, well, here's what they're saying about you, Condor. And they show me these private conversations, and I looked at a few, and I decided after looking at a few, it's pathetic to even see it. I'm a public figure. People have the right to believe whatever they want to believe. People have the right to say whatever they want to say about me. And it's none of my business. It's none of my business, even if people want to show it to me. So after I seen a few, I just started telling guys, do not send me more stuff. Like, just do not do that. So, but of course, people kept sending me stuff, and I just don't look at it. I don't listen to the clips when they're sent to me, because I think that's, first off, that's violating people's privacy. And I'm 46 years of age. I'm here to talk about games, guys. I got no time for that type of drama. I don't mind having a strong, passionate opinion about the hobby, or calling something lazy, or that, but I don't attack people. I like, and like, I respond to people. People say I attack, I respond. Just you got to be real, right? I respond. Even the recent Bro OSR stuff, that's just years of multiple guys from that community taking shots at me. So, I, instead of going at them as individuals, I go after their ideas. And that's the point of the video. I talked about debating their ideas in the public square of ideas, right? Not about attacking individuals in the group, but as a group presenting ideas in the open square. Here's how I pushed back, right? Though I'll have guys do 20 streams about me, I'll do a response. I remember, like, even as, like, I stopped doing these, but like last year I did one. Response to 20 streams, a response. And you want to know what that's painted as? Me attacking people. Well, dude, I'm not attacking no one. I'm responding to 20 streams. That's a response, and that's justified. Somebody does 20 streams on me. Yeah, I'm justified in responding to the 20 streams, right? But people paint that up falsely. Though I'll have guys that will join the Discord when I leave them open, and they'll be spying on me, for guys in their fucking 50s. It's like, guys, I'm talking about stuff I talk about in public. You are pathetic. You're pathetic losers. Like, have some fucking class, right? Show that you're not children. It's so immature to have grown fucking men go on a Discord thing. And what this 50-some-year-old YouTuber did tonight was lip off and then leaves the group. Like, come on, man, you're 50-some years of age. Like, it's time to act your age, dude. It's time to act your age. 50-some years of age. Like, don't you have something to do in life? I don't know. So pathetic. And what's even more sad is some of these guys are well liked by a lot of people in the old school audience, like in a certain echo chamber. They're well liked YouTubers, and they go under different names, come on Discord, and spy on me. They have multiple accounts, and they project everything they do at me. They'll say to in public, I bet you Condor has multiple accounts. Well, people know about my 2 YouTube accounts. I do one where I haven't worked on it in a while, where I cover some entertainment stuff like that, and then I got this one. I got one Discord account. That's it. I have one X account, though I've had multiple. I mean, I take them down when they get suspended by Twitter in the past. That's the only reason I've ever had more than one Twitter account is because they were suspending everyone at one point. And that was me trying to get around that, not me trying to have multiple accounts to attack people. But I just don't do that. I don't even look like I'll get private conversations about what people are saying about me, and I avoid them. And it's the reason is even if I see something where I guess I could use it to embarrass somebody. And some people will show me stuff that has nothing to do with me too. I've been shown stuff where it's like, that guy you don't like, Condor? Yeah, here's the secret about him. Dude, that's none of my fucking business. Like, there's a guy who did 20 streams on me. I keep mentioning him all the time. There's private things people told me about him, and I just go, dude, I'm talking about games here. Like, I'm in my 40s. Like, I got no time for this. This is not high school to me. I'm not a pathetic piece of shit loser like he is. That's the type of stuff he does. And he's done it in public, so he can't even deny it. It's exactly what he does. So I'm just calling it what it is, childish and pathetic. And a real man wouldn't do it. That's why I don't see him as a real man. But would I do it to him? No, because I'm a fucking grown man. Right? Yeah, it's sad in this world. You can have kids and a wife and everything, and you still act like a 9-year-old little boy. You can't even be a grown man then and just fucking be courteous. We're talking about games here. When you got to destroy someone because they have a different opinion than you about games, or they criticize some minor thing about you, like attacking somebody, like, oh, I think it's pathetic that people attack people. It's an opinion, dude. People say shit about me all the time. I do not flip out. I don't go after them. I don't chase them down. Ask people in my chat, people that support me. Black Rose, I'm pretty sure Philo has heard it. I do not want people out there bothering other fucking YouTubers or even their audience over what they say about me. I've given the talk to my audience. I do not support it. I don't want them doing that. I'm a grown man. I don't need you going to bother other YouTubers. I don't want Philo bothering other YouTubers. I don't want Miles bothering other YouTubers. I don't want Black Rose bothering other YouTubers. I don't want anybody who talks to me to go bug anyone. Be here, support me. That's the best thing. I'm a grown man. I can speak for myself. And don't join Discords. Don't come tell me like and when they tell me stuff, I just don't want to hear it. Like, well, I heard this guy's talking about you, dude. I don't care. I just like I love some of my audience people, some people that support me. I love them. But when they start telling me about what another YouTuber said about me or something, I'm just like, it's like, I love you, but politely go fuck yourself. I just don't want to fucking hear it. I don't care. We're talking about games here. I don't care. They did something about your video. Don't care. That's their right. I'm a public person. Everybody has their right to say whatever they want about me. Though I don't like false accusations sometimes, depending on who it is. Very odd times I've made a point. There was an open stream there where I did a response where a guy made what I just didn't like the false accusation because he painted what I said or the way I was talking about something as if I was attacking people. And I decided just to show the difference. Like I showed what he said on his stream, and then I showed people my stream that he's commenting on and what I actually said. And the contrast between how he paints what I said and what and the way I actually talk about the thing is just night and day. It's not even the same thing. And the accusations made within his statement about what I'm saying don't even exist in what I'm saying. When you listen to it, you realize I'm not doing that. Right? It's just a complete, I'm being reasonable and fair. And and suddenly, I guess being fair in the tabletop role playing game, how they in the old school means you're a pussy if you're being courteous and fair to people. Okay, all right, sure, dude. Yeah. See, the difference between me and him is a 9-year-old little boy would call that pussified. A 46-year-old grown man acts mature, acts his age, and is reasonable. Right. Big difference. We get a lot of old babies in the old school, especially around the Dungeons and Dragons area, and just some old school guys in general. Old fucking babies. Old babies that need to grow the fuck up. They've attacked me so much we can't even do a stream together or talk. Like, it's so unreasonable and so over the fucking edge, over the line, that I can't even talk to them. And it's complete projection. They act what they accuse me of. Everything they accuse me of is true about them. And I mean everything. So the picture they paint of me, all they got to do is go look in the mirror, and the person they're talking about, they'll see looking back at them. And it won't be me. It's them. They accuse me of what they are guilty of. That's the problem. They accuse me of what they are guilty of. And it's just, think about how cowardly it is when you get a whole community of multiple YouTubers, multiple fucking people on X, and I'm one guy, and I take it all, and I don't bitch and cry to them all about this. 99% of the shit said about me, I don't even comment on or bring up. I don't mention 99% of the people that ever talk about me. It's like you have the right, but it's childish. There you go. There's my comments on that. What a sad night to even have to put up with that. I'm getting ready to do the Tomb of Horrors. The guy joins the Discord and decides, I'm going to be a baby tonight about it. Such a shame. Such a shame. And I want you guys to know, I did this server up. Like, if you're mature, grown people, it's called Everything TTRPG. I have an open, I have a video about it. There's an open link to be able to join it. It's not focused on me as an individual. I have my own Discord channels, servers. This one is for the community. I've asked people, if you use it to come after me, you're spitting in the face of every other person using that server from the community. You're not disrespecting me. I've heard it all before. You're simply showing that you have no respect for the rest of the people in the tabletop role-playing game community, in the old school especially. You have no respect for anybody else around you. That's all you're showing. So if you use it as to do personal attacks, it's all you're doing. And how cowardly to do the mouthing off and then leave the server right away. Especially when you're in your fucking 50s. You're in your 50s. That's what, to me, is such a shame. In your 50s and acting that way. Like, you'd think guys would just have some class. Like, if they don't like you, they say their piece and they move on. You think that would be enough. But you want to know what happens? I say things that they just don't like. That's all. And if they don't know how to argue it, this is the reaction I get. It's like, we're talking about games, guys. Get over it. If you don't like what I think, just move on. Say your piece and move on. I don't get all the vitriol and the hate and all that type of stuff. Oh, sorry, I don't understand it. Makes no sense to me. Not at our age, right? I could understand if we were all 9-year-old little boys in school on the playground yelling at each other and we haven't grown up. But at this age, to be behaving like that in your 50s, I shouldn't even have to call it out because it shouldn't be happening. And their excuses, oh, it's YouTube. It's always an excuse to misbehave like a child. Or they'll say others do it on here, so we do. I mean, do you have to have the old lesson? Do you have to hear the old thing? Like, if everyone else jumps off a bridge, it doesn't mean you fucking got to go follow and jump off a bridge. That's the difference between being a wise, grown fucking man and a child. 9-year-old boy will jump off with everyone else. A grown man knows better. YouTube does not give you a break from being a man. It doesn't justify any bad behavior. So I get a kick out of guys that try to excuse piss poor behavior by saying, well, it's on YouTube. No, that doesn't excuse anything, dude. Sorry. No. That's why I cut these people off. I notice they'll do this shit to each other. They'll attack each other in the most vicious ways. and then they'll be on a stream with each other a week or two later. And it's all okay because it was just on YouTube. I'm like, no, you're fucking two piss poor fucking human beings. That's what it is. And you have labeled something, you look at something in a warped way. Nope. I'll treat you like I treat any other man in real life. If you go on like this in real life, I would cut you off. I'm going to cut you off here. So I just don't put up with it, and I don't let people get away with shit. Well, it's YouTube. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take your responsibility away from you to be a grown man. Anyway, there. That's my piece. Less than 1 hour in. Quantum Ogre. A childish blow up on Discord from a guy in his 50s. Yay. That's fucking great. Boring. Boring. Very, very shameful and boring. Shameful and boring. Oh, wow. I'll say this. The one commenter said the guy mouthing out before he leaves, he's like, I'm breaking rule 4. What you the way he goes on about it. When you make rules up on a server and you're making it for grown adults, these are not laws. These are just like, I made rules up that I know initially a grown man would follow. A mature, grown, real man would follow the rules. These are rules that are to prevent older people from acting like children. So if you break them, it's of course I'll boot you or something, but it's not like to over dramatize the whole thing. It's to say that if you're a mature, grown, real man or woman, I don't have to worry about you breaking any of these rules in here. I'm not even worried. Not if you're a real, like, mature fucking human being. I don't got to worry about it at all. I have rules. So I do have a few rules for that Discord server, I said. And they're all just rules to make sure adults behave like fucking adults. That's all it is. And if we get some younger people in their early 20s or something coming in, of course it is to curb bad, immature behavior. That's all it is. But you want to know who's breaking the rules right away? A guy in his 50s. A guy in his 50s. Not a 20-year-old man who still needs some growing up, but a guy in the old school Dungeons and Dragons community in his 50s. Rules that are made that a real man shouldn't even have to, based on your own behavior, you should not end up breaking the rule. The rule is really not there to be used against you. It is really just aiming at younger people that might come in, in their 20s, like early 30s, and saying to the guys, you got to act like mature adults when you come in here. The rules are not meant for actually 40 and 50-year-olds because I expect people coming in to act their age. So the fact that it's the first person to break one of the rules, the guy is in his 50s, but he's old school Dungeons and Dragons, which is sadly a lot of them behave like children. So a rule that shouldn't even need to be used against him is something he's breaking because he's decided, I'm going to act like a child instead of a real man before I leave. So I'll break the rule. Oh, man. Disappointing. It's like I like having debates and open dialogue like that too. What bothers me is it's like, look, guys, when you're talking to people in the old school D&D community, especially, they have certain things they want to be true. So when you make a solid case against what they want to be true, but your case is solid, instead of actually dealing with what you said, they'll say that you're wrong, but they can't even explain how. And then they'll mouth off at you. And I'm like, so basically, you're just going to be dishonest. There is no real debate because you have an agenda and you want something to be true. You don't care about the truth. You just care about this thing, the thing you want to be true no matter what. And if it isn't, that's too bad. You're going to ignore any factual statement against it that destroys that. There you go. So I did my response to the whole D&D wargaming gimmick on yesterday's stream, and yeah, they're not happy about that with me on X. One guy refused. He brought an issue up on the Discord, and so I said I didn't agree with him. Pretty strong about. I have certain feelings on the thing, so I said my strong opinion. I said I'm willing to debate. Let's have at it, but like say what you got to say. He came back and pretty much said you're wrong. No explanation. I'm like okay, and goes into the labeling, insults, and everything. I said okay, well, all right, I'm going to boot you then. That's not appropriate here, not at your age. So I booted him, and that's the type of shit I'm not happy with. It's disappointing because I want to be able to have mature conversations. I don't think we ever progress the topic if certain people can't handle that they might be wrong. That's what happened with the wargaming thing. Clearly, it's not wargaming. That I've made such a solid case, like a factual case, that D&D is not wargaming. That I've clarified. So complete. And they have no argument against what I've said, like at all. The most they can say is, it is, and then just ignore everything I said. Because I'm like, if they confront the details of what I'm saying, they're done. The argument's over. I win. I won that debate. That debate is solidly because the facts are on my side. Facts are on my side. Okay. I'd say in about 30 minutes, around there, we will start the coverage of Tomb of Horrors. So, men don't grow. We had an 80s comedy song in Norway with the text, men don't grow up, we only get older. It's true for a lot of men. Yeah. Yep. Some truth to it. Some truth. But you'd think in a hobby, see, when it gets to the intellectual stuff, you'd think there would be just some, what you call civil behavior, right? Not uncivil behavior. In the real world, because of social pressure, you do got to be civil with each other, Philo. What I don't like is that lack of social pressure online, where men will act a certain way towards you, face to face they don't, right? Like there's social pressure, there's threat pressure, there's all these pressures that face to face people won't act a certain way around you because that can lead to physical confrontation, stuff like this, right? So there's certain behavior guys won't do. On here, all that social pressure is completely gone, right? Completely gone. So guys will say things to you that they know would get them, say, for example, punched in the face. They'll just say it to you openly here. And then even funnier is they'll do streams about you and get uppity in their voice without the social pressure, like in Talk Tough, where again, face to face, they're saying things to you that would likely justify another guy punching them in the face for saying like that thing in that way to them. There's some guys out there that will say whatever they got to say to you and not worry about these things. I totally get that. Though I just say that's not true for most guys, especially a lot of the guys a lot of my fellow nerds in the old school tabletop role-playing game hobby online. I've seen how they act. A lot of them, there's limits. There is limits to what they'll say to you. and how far. And that social pressure is usually a good thing. Uh, yeah. So you would think, and it's a shame to see that completely gone. But is there an immaturity I think carries along with men? Yeah, Philo, I would say that's true. But it's how we express it face to face. Like, we're not always expressing it in the way of saying stuff that would get you punched in the face. It's more like expressing it with the games you'll still play at this age, the things you'll still do with your friends at this age, right? Or the humor that you might find, things that you might find funny. So we'll be immature in our what we find funny. We might be immature in the games that we'll play. We might be immature just in the way we talk, but not to the point of talking in a way that gets people, justifies people hating you, right? On here, the social pressure gone leads to a lot of that. And it becomes so normalized on here, Philo. That's annoying. It's like, dude, I don't care. Like, I come to the YouTube world, I don't care how normalized certain behavior or talk is. If you talk that way to me, I will cut you off. Period. End of story. That's it. Simplest for me. That's why you won't see me streaming with certain people. I won't be doing content with certain people. And because of the way people behave, that's why even the chat here for the streams, I don't leave it open to everyone. I leave it open to people that support me because and you guys don't always agree with me. I'm not even worried about bringing people on that agree with me. Most people, that's almost everybody who subs to me, disagrees with me on things. And I welcome the debate and the disagreement, as you guys all know this, and you know it personally. I'm not afraid of the debate. It just, the reason I don't leave it open is because so many old guys on here act like children. So when they come to the chat, it's just childish. And it's like, nope, not putting up with that. And the only way you get them to act well in chat is if you kiss their ass. You play yes man and say what they agree with. Or you attack people they don't like. And as long as you're doing one of those two things, they'll come at chat in a positive way towards you. But if you're in saying D&D is not wargaming, now they're going to act like 9-year-old boys in the chat, even though they're all in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So, and they do it frequently. Like, I can ask Black Rose. I had to close it up because when we had it open, 50-year-olds would so consistently come in here and go crazy. Like, go absolutely nuts, making up multiple accounts. These are 50-year-old men in the old school Dungeons and Dragons community in the echo chamber part. And they would come on here, and the way they would mouth off, it's not like a grown man. Like, they're mouthing off where if you didn't know that was a 50-year-old man, you would actually think that was some young guy just slipping off. But when you know who it is, then you realize you're seeing a 50-some-year-old man talk to you like a 17-year-old boy. And I'm like, dude, I'm not in the mood for that. So I cut it off. I got to be honest, most of them really suck at mouthing off, so that's boring too. Like, they're trying to troll, but they're not good at it. Nerds. But anyway, that's my piece. Disappointed with the Discord thing. Because it held up until today. Like, I've had that server open for a while. And no matter who's joined, so I was hoping that maybe, regardless of hate, people got the point. It's like, okay, we get this for the community. And I've established that the Discord server is not about me. It's not about me as an individual, as a YouTuber. It really is just something because I found a bunch of these tabletop role-playing game Discord servers, a lot of the old guys did not like. And you got to go in there and lock yourself into that and all this. And I wanted it to be a little bit more old school, in the sort of amateur way of you could come in, you don't have to pitch in a like I don't have a guideline for how you pitch your campaigns. You can pitch your campaigns and you can even run the campaign on another Discord server. I don't care. You can use the server, but you don't have to. And it's a little bit more in that zone of things old school guys understand and have a lot easier time dealing with than going in, because a lot of old guys will go in and they'll avoid recruiting, and it's really hard to recruit, and you got to follow these rules, or and these aren't rules to protect anyone. It's rules of control. You got to benefit their server to do anything on their server. Where I just say, look, I'm just going to make one for the community where it's not about you kissing my ass or anything. It's the community server. It's just the tabletop role playing game community server where you join, and the server is there to help you, not you help it. So join it, pitch your campaign how you want. And I put some basic rules up, really just, hey, look, we're not going to have arguments in the open chat. Like debate's fine, but no like petty mouthing up. This is what got this guy kicked from the first guy actually kicked out the Discord thing. Like no mouthing off, no getting to that point of insults, right? If not, you go away. Pretty simple. Act mature enough to stay here. Pitch your thing. You don't have to run your game on there. You don't have to use anything. Very old school in that way. A lot easier for a lot of older guys that have a hard time with Discord, because I've talked to a lot of old guys that avoid Discord, or when they use it, they have a hard time understanding like most of the rules. They don't bother pitching their shit up. And I talk to them in private. I'm like, well, I get you. You've been in the hobby since like the 80s. And they're like, yeah. And like Discord confuses you, doesn't it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll just make up the group for you guys. But for anybody, really. And my thing was, when I made the statement about the server, I just said, look, I said, even if you don't have an issue, even if you have an issue with me, attacking that server that is for the community is an attack on the community, not an attack on me. Don't use it to come after me. But you're free to DM me. You're free to do whatever you want to do and say your piece other ways, right? Of course, old school D&D guys can't control themselves. But I thought just for a short bit they did. I thought maybe, just maybe, slightly, they respect a little bit more of the general community and put their issue aside with me. And how could I ever have peace with people, talk to people, if there is none of that? Like if I'm not going to stop saying things people don't like. I'm going to keep saying things people don't agree with, because I really believe this stuff. Just because I might call D&D not wargaming shouldn't be a reason I can't talk to another guy in the tabletop role-playing game community. We just have a difference in opinion. I should be able to still talk to you. And if there's a zone where a neutral zone where you can still encounter me, right, in a civil way, why wouldn't grown men want that opportunity, right? If the only difference between us is a difference in opinions about games. So part of me is a little disappointed with some of the guys, because it's like, well, here's a civil area. This has nothing to do with me. It's about the community. Why not join the server if you want to and be civil? But people can't control themselves. I'm going to say, disappointing. It's like, hey, we're never going to be able to do YouTube or anything together if you guys never act your age, and you project onto me. So it's not like I'm actually the person you say I am. You are the person you say I am. So how about you just act right, and then we can actually talk? That'd be nice. Anyway. And I was surprised because Tomb of Horrors is really like I have a 2 week thing about a lot of topics guys probably want to hear about. Like next month, I'm going to cover the battle system in Greyhawk Wars, which has to do with miniatures and some form of wargaming with D&D, right? To sort of show that there is an essence of a definitely a focus on wargaming through Gary. It's not D&D is not wargaming, but there is, to be honest, to be real, this is me being trying to be truthful, is not to avoid that there was some attention given to wargaming, but this is me showing people how humble I am. I was going to do it this month, but I'm going to do it next month. I'm surprised with all the things I'm covering, guys don't want to talk about this stuff. I'm going to be covering essentials. I'm going to be covering the Conan modules with Red Sonja. The Tomb of Horrors is beautiful. Beautiful conversation to be had. I mean, tomorrow night, I'm going to be covering the Dungeoneer's Survival Guide, the Wilderness Survival Guide, the Manual Planes. And these are AD&D 1E people. I know they know this stuff, and they like to talk about it. The Lankmar first edition, not Dungeon Crawl Classic or something version. Now, I know Bill, I hope Bill's going to be around next week on the 13th. I'm going to be covering OD&D, but especially his favorite, Beckme, doing a second look. And then I'm going to be covering deities and demigods. And then I'm going to cover the real one-to-one time in shared worlds for TSR. Not the BroSR version, the real one-to-one time. The real, not the one they claim they have discovered. No, the real one. And then before the end of the month on the 27th, I'm going to cover the Conan and Red Sonja modules. And I'm hoping that would be interesting because I was hoping some people never heard of them. I know not everybody has. Such a shame. I was really hoping some of those would be good conversational pieces. But yeah, you might have to sub to the channel if you want to take part in all that content. But isn't that, if I'm doing content that you want to take part in the chat in, well, if I'm drawing you that way, that's earning us up. So that's why I have no shame about you got to be sub to the channel to take part in the chat, because now I'm working for you, right? It's a bit of scratch my back, I scratch your back situation. If you want me to work for you, all right, dude. A bit of a quarter in the hat doesn't hurt. It's like it's just how it works, dude. I mean, it's not even like a real quarter. It's just like a little bit of a payoff is the quarter in the hat is that I get a sub, you get lots of content me and you could talk about. But I'm sure Philo's going to like the details. I don't know if Black Rose is going to be around. I'm pretty sure Black Rose will want to hear about this. Bill will definitely check this out at one point because I'll go into some details here. Stuff I've learned, stuff I know about it, advice for it. And if you've never ran the Tomb of Horrors, no matter what you've heard about it, this will be a good stream. Let's see. I don't know if you guys know much about it, but I'm also going to be covering basic fantasy RPG. A lot of old school guys know it, but some people in my audience definitely do not know about it. I am going to be covering, I'm hoping to surprise people. There's a lot of people that are very fond of Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition that try to somewhat separate it in their view from the rest of the WotC editions. Now, some people say with all the extra books for 3rd edition, it's an overkill, like all the additional material. But a lot of people say the core books are their favorite, right? Not much. You've probably seen the little bit of stuff I laughed about in here. I've talked about a bit, the Discord. Started off with the Quantum Ogre. Yeah, you can go back and see what I said about that later. But you're here, Black Rose. I got Philo here. Miles might be around. So, yeah, You want to know what? If you guys are here, I would hope. I mean, I don't know if Bill's going to be around for this. I'm pretty sure he'll watch it later anyway. But after this, most likely, I will start the coverage of Tomb of Horrors. I don't know, Black Rose. Have you heard much about Tomb of Horrors? Curious. Philo said the most obvious thing. Tomb of Horrors sounds scary. Well, I mean, the name, right? All right, Rock. Oh no, Miles, you keep painting, doing just I'm happy you're here. You don't need to chat. You're not gonna say sorry. Just knowing you're here, good. I got 3 people here that I'm happy to have here for the talk on the Tomb of Horrors, baby. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the Tomb of Horrors. 1 minute behind. We're good. We're good. Tomb of Horrors. No, I have not started the actual coverage Black Rose here on time. I got 3 of my favorite people here. So we'll go. We'll go. We'll jump into it as soon as I'm done. Also, uh, as you guys know, Pacific Punch is what this one's called. Pacific Punch. It's good. I've had 2 today. Well, one before this one and this one. 2 monsters. The only sugar drinks that I drink, but it's sort of to get that sugar high because I don't take in much sugar anymore at all. So, given my separation from sugar as much as I do, I get like a high off. I get the, like a sugar high all the time. It's good. It's good. Now the reason the lights are out tonight, as they were, it's we have a couple of hot days here. It's not like boiling hot where I'm at, but like in the room. But that's because I get the light off. The reason I'm sitting down tonight is because it's really, really hot, right? Tomorrow I will be standing up no matter what the heat is. I'll be more prepared for that. But yeah. Just some references. Oh my. Good. Good. Well, that's good. That's really good. I got details I guarantee you won't know about. And there's a lot of assumptions around Tomb of Horrors. Like a lot. Whenever I talk to people and just hear what they assume, because a lot of people, the people that have not actually played the thing, there's an assumption. Man, it must be like a large dungeon. And a lot of people just sort of picture that in their head. I'm like, no, it's actually pretty compact and small. Now, I don't want to go into too many more details, but I'll just say that. Pretty small. And it doesn't introduce a lot of new stuff because a lot of people expect, like, what new monsters, what new this. I'm like, not really. It's more about introducing you to the gameplay of the game. Like it's more about like getting you used to what the game is. It's gameplay that you're encountering, right? More than say new stuff. True, there's some definite truth to that. Usually, when people say they don't like it, they talk about how hard it is. Put it this way, Miles. I hate to say it, but here's my honest take on it. The guys that don't like it are the lazy people that the dungeon oats. Like, so if you half-ass as a player, the Tomb of Horrors will chew you up and spit you out. It's there's just no freebies. Either pay attention, try, and you can succeed. Definitely at the Tomb of Horrors. Half-ass, chews you up and spit you out. Now, if you're lucky, you might be with a group with a couple people leading, and you can ride their coattails. But for the most part, lazy, half-assed players end up not liking Tomb of Horrors because it embarrasses them. They don't get to get away with half-assing. That's the best way I'll put it. And it's a lot of people go into it. There's they want it to, like the people I would say half-ass. They also want things to be really easy. So you got to understand this. Think about the Tomb of Horrors like this. Imagine you want to just go in and fight goblins or fight things and like swing your thing. Not Tomb of Horrors. Tomb of Horrors is like a hell grind. Tomb of Horrors is like a dungeon close to what I would put you in all the time. It's almost like usually my dungeons are worse than Tomb of Horrors. Oh, that sounds really bad, doesn't it? Like every player I've ever had go into a dungeon in my game, it's not they hate my game. They just get in, and after the first session, they want out. They never want to, because all dungeons I put you in are just fucking grindy, every inch of it. Every inch is stressful. Tomb of Horrors it can be fun if you're into the mind game, but it's a mind game. Remember, this sort of Tomb of Horrors is something that reminds you that you're not in a video game. You're in a game to challenge this, right? And so it's the Tomb of Horrors is something like if you like perception check, Miles, say you don't like to think your way through something and you want to roll the dice and let it take care of it for you. Tomb of Horrors is completely opposite of that. Tomb of Horrors is you're dealing with everything here. Everything. Every inch is this working. So that's people that want an easy ride don't like it. People that understand it's not an easy ride can enjoy it. And the success of overcoming such a very challenging place, it's a high. It's a great high. But that's where I would say the split, because I've never met a person who likes that type of challenge. Even if they fail, like the guys that fail but like it still are okay with it. They don't hate it. The guys that succeed at it get a high from it. Every person, Miles, these are guys I know that they want to roll the dice and have the dice do the work for them. So if you're looking to play Monopoly, pass, go, get your money. Wrong game. Wrong module. It's the best way I could put it. It's going to grind the shit out of you. Okay. Let's get into it, guys. Here we go. Let's start. Of course, we're going to open with the fluff right away. The influence and birth of the Tomb of Horrors, or influence is the definitive test of player skill. By 1975, Dungeons & Dragons had grown far beyond Gary Gygax's own Greyhawk campaign. Stories circulated throughout the hobby about high-level adventurers carrying enormous collections of magic items and overcoming nearly every challenge placed before them. Oh, yeah. Rather than simply designing stronger monsters, Gygax created an adventure that tested something entirely different: the skill of the players themselves. The Tomb of Horror became the definitive published expression of Gary's belief that success in D&D should depend on as much on a player's judgment, observation, and caution as on the character's statistics. Meaning, this is where he wants to challenge your mind. So it's your player skill. This is what I'm talking about here. Tomb of Horrors is meant to be about player skill, not about the numbers on the sheet. Instead of asking, can your character survive? The adventurer asks, can you? It's a lot less about just your character and more about you as a player. Can you get through this? Can your mind get through this? Origins I, 1975. The Tomb of Horrors was originally created for the Origins I convention in 1975, already bearing the name The Tomb of Horrors. Tournament adventures had different goals from home campaigns. Every group needed to face the same challenges so their performance could be compared fairly. It's tournament. Rather than relying on wandering monsters or random events, Gary designed a dungeon where the dungeon itself became the opponent. The focus shifted away from combat and towards careful exploration, observation, deduction, and problem solving. Gary fully expected many convention groups to fail. The adventure was intended to separate exceptional players from merely experienced ones. So basically, again, you could play for 10 years. It wouldn't matter to him. Some people out there will be lazy, will ride coattails. He didn't want, this was made for people that had the mind for this. Gary wanted to challenge veteran players. Gary Gygax later explained that he designed the tomb with highly experienced players in mind, including people such as Rob Kuntz, it's on X, Rob Alar, and Ernie Gygax Tenser. These players had survived years of Greyhawk adventures and had developed a reputation for overcoming almost anything a dungeon master could devise. The tomb was created as the ultimate examination of experienced play, not because Gary disliked powerful characters, but because he wanted to see whether players' skills still mattered when combat and magic could no longer solve every problem. Meaning simple things like, you're going into the fight, roll the dice. It's not that. He wants to find out, does this matter as much as that does? Alan Lucian's contribution. Although Gary Gygax wrote the module, he credited early AD&D playtester Alan Lucian for contributing numerous ideas that found their way into the finished adventure. In the published module, Gary specifically thanked Lucian for many ideas incorporated herein. While the Tomb of Horrors is rightly remembered as one of Gary's signature works, Alan Lucian played an important role in helping shape some of its memorable concepts. A different kind of dungeon. Many early D&D adventures rewarded players primarily through exploration, combat, and treasure hunting. Tomb of Horrors deliberately reduced the importance of combat compared to many adventures of its era. Instead, success depended on careful observation, interpreting clues correctly, mapping accurately, testing the environment safely, recognizing misleading information, resisting obvious temptation. Many chambers contain no monsters at all. Instead, the architecture, traps, and puzzles become the true opponents. The result is a dungeon where players' decisions matter more than characters' abilities. False entrances set the tone. One of the tomb's most famous innovations appears before the dungeon even begins. The burial mound contains multiple false entrances, many of which are deadly traps. Only one entrance actually leads into the tomb. From the very beginning, the adventure teaches players one of its central lessons: never assume the obvious choice is the correct one. This opening immediately establishes the paranoia and caution that define the entire adventure. Remember how I said earlier, when we think about the Tomb of Horrors, the Tomb of Danger would be a more accurate title for this, because it's not horrifying when you think scary like horror, like, oh, the ghost or goblies or ghoulies coming at you. It's not that. It's about death, and the threat of death is always inches away from your character. Like the constant chances that you fail and not survive are constantly there. So you become fearful and paranoid of failure constantly because it's right in front of you at all times. So you're not scared like of the boogeyman type of thing. You're scared of failing. The birth of the iconic killer dungeon, the birth of the iconic killer dungeon. Deadly dungeons existed before Tomb of Horrors, including those found in Greyhawk, Blackmoor, and other early campaigns. What Tomb of Horrors did was become the hobby's defining published example of the killer dungeon. Its traps rarely exist simply to reduce hit points. Instead, they punish greed, impatience, overconfidence, carelessness, making assumptions. Many dangers appear harmless or even rewarding until the consequences become apparent. The adventure is as much a psychological challenge as a mechanical one. The Green Devil Face. Perhaps no single image from an adventure module has become more famous than the Green Devil Face. The giant floating green devil head appears to offer another mysterious passage. Instead, its mouth conceals one of the dungeon's deadliest hazards. That illustration became one of the most recognizable images in Dungeons and Dragons history and has been referenced repeatedly across later editions, artwork, miniatures, and video games. For many players, the Green Devil Face is the visual symbol of the Tomb of Horrors itself. The poem as the dungeon's guide. Rather than relying solely on room descriptions, Tomb of Horrors provides players with a cryptic poem filled with clues about the dangers ahead. The verses contain genuine hints, but they are intentionally obscure and open to interpretation. Much of the adventure revolves around remembering, deciphering, and correctly applying these clues. This helped establish the idea that puzzles and riddles could become the structural backbone of an entire dungeon rather than simply appearing as isolated encounters. Serac and the power of reputation. The module introduced one of D&D's most iconic villains, Serac the Demi-Lich. Unlike many adventure villains, Serac is almost entirely absent during the exploration of the dungeon. Instead, players encounter his legacy through ancient legends, ruined explorers, terrifying traps, cryptic warnings, the tomb itself. By the time Serac finally appears, his reputation has already become one of the adventure's greatest weapons. This style of building anticipation before revealing the villain influenced many later adventure writers. The beginning of the S series. When TSR published the adventure in 1978, it made it 1975, but it officially put out 1978 for public purchase. For AD&D, it became S1, the Tomb of Horrors. The S stood for special. Rather than sharing a common storyline, the S series was united by a different philosophy. Each adventure presented players with an unusual challenge, unlike anything else TSR was publishing. The series eventually included S1, Tomb of Horrors, S2, White Plume Mountain, S3, Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, S4, The Lost Caverns of So Camp. Right, depends on how you want to say that name. Each become one of the defining adventures of the AD&D era. The early player handouts. Tomb of Horrors also helped popularize the use of separate illustrated booklets. At key moments, the Dungeon Master could show players artwork depicting what their character saw instead of relying entirely on verbal descriptions. This increased immersion while ensuring either the group received the same visual information during tournament play, or this increased immersion while ensuring every group received the same visual information during tournament play. Now, this is what, when I did this up with the guy who DM'd this is what he says. Of course, I have a different opinion on things, but at the same time, because it's for tournament play, having everybody see the same thing exactly as it is necessary in tournament play for what it is. The technique would become a reoccurring feature in many later TSR adventures. A module that divided the hobby. Few adventurers have inspired stronger opinions. Supporters praise it as the ultimate test of player skill, a masterpiece of trap design, one of the purest examples of old school dungeon exploration. Critics both in the late 1970s and today have argued that parts of the dungeon are excessively lethal or unforgiving, with some traps offering little room for recovery. That debate has lasted for nearly 50 years and remains part of the module's enduring legacy. Gary's lessons about greed. A recurring theme throughout the tomb is that players often create their own problems. Many of the dungeon's deadliest traps are triggered because adventurers cannot resist opening one more chest, reaching into one more opening. touching one more mysterious object, claiming one more treasure. Rather than forcing danger upon the party, the dungeon frequently lets players choose their own fate. This reflects one of Gary Gygax's enduring design philosophies. Curiosity and greed are often more dangerous than monsters. Lasting legacy. Tomb of Horrors became one of the most famous adventures ever published. It has been reprinted across multiple editions, expanded and returned to the Tomb of Horrors, adapted and referenced throughout D&D history, repeatedly homaged in adventures, novels, and video games. In 2004, Dungeon Magazine ranked it the greatest Dungeons & Dragons adventure of all time, cementing its reputation as one of the hobby's defining works. Nearly 50 years after its debut, Tomb of Horrors remains the adventure most closely associated with the old school belief that the greatest challenge at the table is not defeating monsters, it's making the right decisions before it's too late. There is the opening fluff. So that gives you an idea. That's the opening fluff for Tomb of Horrors. You guys are free to comment anytime, but I'm sure that's just the fluff. That's me entertaining you with some fluff. Let's get into what is the adventure. Tomb of Horrors, what is the adventure? A legendary tomb. Tomb of Horrors is a high-level AD&D adventure designed for characters approximately 10th to the 14th level. It's a good start, yep. So it's designed for high-level characters. It assumes experienced adventurers with access to the kinds of magical equipment and resources typically accumulated over a long campaign. Oh, there's Bill. I hope you heard some of the fluff there, Bill. Actually, let me have one of these Bill's here for the Tomb of Horror. I just did the fluff, dude. So trust me, there's a lot of good stuff to follow. And I know you know the Tomb of Horrors. It's going to be good, my friend. It's going to be good. And next week, I am doing my second take on OD&D and Beck Me. Bill, I know how much you love Beck Me. If you can make the time for that one or just watch it later, please check that one out because I got some cool things to say about Beck Me. I know you'll appreciate. And like I said, we talked recently that last stream. I love running AD&D second edition. As far as being a player, I loved playing Beck Me. So I have a lot of fun, good things to say. I think you'll like. The fluffy good time, yep. Gonna have a few puffs before we continue on, but the Tomb of Horrors is, yeah, I know, it's good stuff, dude. A little bit more dig into Mystera stuff, so you'll appreciate that. Just some more like, I know I went over some things, but there's some things I'm going to go a little bit more into detail on, like the Hollow Worlds and stuff like that, because Mystera, in many ways, is a representation of Beck Me. I think you would agree with that. The Mystera is made to definitely present you Beck Me. It is built for Beck Me. It's a great way of introducing people to Beck Me. Mystera, you screw all other settings. If you're going to play Beck Me, Mystera is your setting. Hands down. Hands down. Hands down. Hands down. Though originally Tomb of Horrors was made for tournament play, as most modules are, and then it came out, just a few more puffs here, and then came out in 1978. That's all I needed. Little bulb. Okay. Let me restart this again. Tomb of Horrors. What is the adventure? A legendary tomb. Tomb of Horrors is a high-level AD&D adventure designed for characters of approximately 10th to 14th level. It assumes experienced adventurers with access to the kind of magical equipment and resources typically accumulated over a long campaign, rather than newly created high-level characters. Instead of sending the party into vast dungeons filled with monsters, the adventure focused on the legendary burial place of Demi-Lich Asirak, whose immense wealth and terrifying reputation have lured generations of adventurers to their death. Although relatively compact in size, nearly every chamber is deliberately designed and serves a specific purpose. So, a lot of people I've talked to over the years will automatically assume the dungeon is a big multi-floor dungeon. Nope. Nope. Surprisingly small. The search for Asirak. The adventure begins with rumors of Asirak's tomb and the incredible riches supposedly hidden within it. Over the years, countless adventurers have entered in search of fame and treasure, yet almost none have returned. The journey first leads to a lonely, grass covered burial mound hiding the entrance to the tomb. Even reaching the true entrance forms part of the adventure, as the mount conceals false approaches alongside the genuine path inside. From there, the characters descend into one of the most infamous dungeons in fantasy gaming, hoping to uncover Asirak's resting place and discover whether the stories surrounding him are true. A dungeon built around traps. Unlike many AD&D adventures of the period, Tomb of Horrors is not driven primarily by monster encounters. Instead, the dungeon is dominated by elaborate traps, hidden mechanisms, magical hazards, secret passages, illusions, misleading architecture, and carefully constructed puzzles. Many of its most memorable locations are remembered not for the creatures within them, but for the challenges built into the rooms themselves. A maze of secrets. The tomb is filled with concealed doors, false passages, hidden chambers, misleading routes, and unexpected connections between different areas. Not every corridor leads towards the final objective, and some discoveries exist purely to misdirect those exploring the dungeon. The architecture itself becomes one of the adventure's central features, making the layout as important as the individual encounters found within it. More than just traps. Although the Tomb of Horrors is famous for its traps, that reputation sometimes overshadows the variety found throughout the adventure. Players will also encounter magical riddles and clues, secret doors, illusions, cursed objects, enchanted devices, strange magical phenomena, undead creatures, monsters, environmental hazards, mysterious artifacts. Rather than repeating the same type of encounter, the adventure constantly shifts between different kinds of challenges as the party explores deeper into the tomb. Magic shapes the entire dungeon. Magic permeates nearly every part of the tomb. Rather than existing only as magical traps, supernatural effects influence the dungeon's architecture, objects, barriers, illusions, curses, and many of its mysteries. The tomb feels less like an abandoned structure and more like a place whose creator carefully infused nearly every chamber with a magical purpose. The cryptic poem. One of the adventure's defining features is a mysterious poem presented near the beginning. Its verses contain clues relating to the dangerous hidden locations and important discoveries scattered throughout the dungeon. Rather than serving as a simple flavor text, the poem forms one of the adventure's central narrative threads, connecting many seemingly unrelated parts of the tomb. Asirak's presence. Although Asirak is the focus of the adventure, his influence is felt long before he is encountered. By the time the events of the module take place, Asirak has become a demilich, one of the most powerful and unusual forms of undeath introduced in early AD&D. His tomb reflects his immense magical power, intelligence, and desire to confound anyone seeking his resting place. Every chamber reinforces the sense that its creator carefully planned every obstacle long before the first adventurer ever entered. The final discovery. The adventure ultimately leads to Asirak's burial chamber and reveals what has truly become the legendary Demilich. Without revealing its surprises, the climax is unlike the conventional final battles found in many fantasy adventures. and has become one of the most memorable endings in the history of Dungeons and Dragons. I won't tell you every detail. Early player illustrations. The published module includes a separate illustration booklet that the Dungeon Master can show players at specific moments during the adventure. Rather than relying entirely on verbal description, certain locations are presented visually, helping establish the atmosphere while allowing players to experience key discoveries exactly as intended. This became one of the module's most distinctive presentation features. So there's like a booklet of art, different rooms, different things in it. And when you finally reach certain parts, the DM would have this to be able to open it up and show you this is the room, this is the thing, right? A deliberately artificial dungeon. Unlike many fantasy dungeons, the tomb is not designed to resemble a place where creatures live. It contains no functioning society, no settlements, no barracks full of soldiers, and very little that resembles a natural underground environment. Instead, it exists as a carefully engineered magical complex built for a single purpose: to guard a Seric's resting place and challenge those who attempt to reach it. This gives the adventure a very different feel from traditional dungeon expeditions. What the adventure is not. One of the easiest ways to understand Tomb of Horrors is by recognizing what it deliberately avoids. It is not a sprawling mega dungeon with dungeons or dozens of levels to explore. It is not an underground ecosystem filled with rival monster factions and wandering civilizations. It is not a wilderness campaign, a city adventure, or a quest that sends a party across multiple locations. Instead, the entire adventure centers on a single, tightly designed tomb where nearly every room is intentionally crafted. It's relatively small size is balanced by the remarkable amount of detail, planning, and unique encounters packed into each section. Why it stands apart. Most classic AD&D adventures revolve around clearing monster lairs, exploring wilderness regions, or completing quests for powerful patrons. Tomb of Horrors instead presents a single, self-contained expedition into one of the most infamous locations in fantasy gaming. It emphasizes on uh, ingenious dungeon design, memorable rooms, magical mysteries, hidden secrets, and the legend of Asarik gave it a unique identity that has distinguished it from almost every other adventure published during the early years of Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, so before we get to the advice. I am going to finish this before the advice. So I did the fluff, and I just explained to you pretty much up and down what the Tomb of Horrors is. I haven't given you the big secret at the end, though, other than you got to go, you're going to encounter him at one point. But I think that becomes pretty obvious early that you know you're going to encounter him at one point. That's not a secret. The poem is interesting when you read it because it doesn't tell you, it's vague, but it gives you hints, and you got to remember the details, and you got to pay attention. But this is what this is all about. It's challenging player skill. You know how you just carelessly forget things when you play a lot of games nowadays? The Tomb of Horrors, you'll fail. It's there to catch players that are half-assing and put them in their place. You half-ass here, you're going to die. You half-ass here, you're going to fail. So when you get the poem, you better pay attention. You better remember details. You better take notes. You better be doing everything here to pay attention. This is a mind game. You are challenged at every step. I mean, every step. And everything is planned. You don't have to worry about wandering monsters. Everything is planned. Every step is planned. So it is about challenging your skill as a player. So, your character is important, but it's really about you. Are you, the player, paying attention? And Tomb of Horrors is going to what a lot of people, it's just you get your players, you get people in the hobby that are half-assed and ride coattails of people, and they get by. They do. We have a lot of people in the hobby. We all have to admit this, that get by on being very mediocre, not trying, being lazy. They get by, right? Why is the Tomb of Horrors had the reputation it has? Is because those people, when you look at the people that don't like it, the split, it's the people that have gotten by half-assing, that have gotten by being mediocre. When they play Tomb of Horrors, they fail. It's as simple as that. And the idea is Tomb of Horrors is there to separate the weak from the good. Good players that pay attention, take things in, remember things, try, do their best, really are in it for the mind game. They don't know, there's no guarantee they'll succeed, but they have a better chance of succeeding with Tomb of Horrors. The guys that ride people's coattails will fail quite often. The guys who just want to roll the dice and swing the weapon and not do too much thinking, they're going to fail. They're going to fail. Right? If you depend on a dice roll to get you through the game, Tomb of Horrors will put you in your place. And that's why it has a mix. You can't deny how genius it is. And that's sort of the hard part, because the mediocre people that have played it, they want to hate it. Tomb of Horrors is a weird beast. It's the people that are mediocre and half-ass and ride people's coattails, they want to hate it, but the reputation is so good that it's like we want to attack this like we do other things we don't like, but we can't. Like, it's so well respected by the people who do love it that it's not an easy module to just outright blow up, right? And so, and for a guy like me, I love playing it because I succeeded at the Tomb of Horrors. But I'm that kind of player. I'm not trying to brag. Why do you think I played Tomb of Horrors? I was told right away, Steven, Tomb of Horrors is made for you. I've only played a few modules. I played the Temple of Elemental Evil, the Tomb of Horrors. I played the Conan module, most of them, and I played the Raid Sonya module, right? And I played a little bit else, but Tomb of Horrors I was told right away, it's made for you, Steven. I wouldn't have played it. I was like totally understood why it was made for me. Yeah, completely. But I just realized right away, and it was good because the guys who could last in the game were fucking all the kinds of people I wanted to play the game with. If you were a player that rode other people's coattails, even if you were with a good group, a lot of times you'd lose your character anyway. Because at one point, we can't save your ass. At one point or another, the mediocre guy will be challenged, even if he's with a good group most of the time. So at one point, you got to step up. And it wants to know if you can. That's all. The Tomb of Horrors isn't like it. If you're lazy, you'll pay a price. If you're mentally not capable because you've been lazy, you'll pay a price. Even if you're not a hot player, but you can be, it will drive you to be. Oh, Bill, that's 100% it. 100% it. And look, Gary was old school. Think about how many years they put the Greyhawk. Think about how serious they took their gaming, Bill. Can you understand what, like, and I'm like that. I'm a very passionate guy when it comes to gaming too. Imagine you being mentally lazy and sitting down with Gary and his players, right? I hear you. But you get what I'm saying. Like, imagine if you're a lazy player trying to sit down at Gary's game with his players that are people that just take this fucking serious, deadly serious, right? You get eaten alive. And Tomb of Horrors is a great example. It is a great example of an adventure he would make that would take a lazy person and say, you want to be lazy? Okay, you lose. Like this dungeon will chew you up and spit you out. That's what the Tomb of Horrors would do. It's made to catch lazy people. It's made to catch people that half-heartedly play. It's made to catch people that just roll dice and depend the dice to do the work for them, right? And but this is Bill. You'll get what I'm saying. We're hobbyists, me and you, Bill, and other people like us. This is what I meant by saying when the hobby was only made for a small group of people. I think we've had this talk before. It's made for hobbyists. Even Gary, even aside of Gary, as much as he did later at TSR, they did open it up to the wider majority. There's a side of Gary that was like all of us hobbyist nerds, right? And you could tell. I heard some interviews with him where you could tell, even what he said on Dragon's Foot, you could tell there was a little bit of regret in some of the things he had to do as a company. Because he's like us. He just wants people that can handle this being into it. Like, this is for the crowd of people that have the minds for these games. This is not for the other 95% that are going to end up entering the hobby, but don't have the mind for these games. Like, there's a world of chess. I mean, competitive chess. No one gets insulted when you say in competitive chess, there's only a small percentage of the population that can actually play that legit and be good. In competitive D&D, where the standards are high, very few people in the society can actually play that game. Think about D&D like an advanced form of chess. And so if you put the standard up and say, you got to play really well, like it could have challenged us, very few people can actually play that. Like, very few can actually achieve at that. And Tomb of Horror is a great example of a hobbyist dungeon. That's why my dungeons are like that. That's why guys stay away from them. But for you to open up the hobby to more people, you got to turn your chess game into a checkers game. And that's where you start with AD&D 1E, starts the gradual chess game turning into a checkers game. And then by the time you get to WotC, it's just checkers. It's just checkers, right? Not insulting people. I don't hate the WotC people, but that's sort of the way Gary and the hobbyists would look at it. They look at it go from chess to checkers. It's an ease up. Now you perception check dice rolls. It goes from mind in the chess game where you got to think of every move to, all right, little easy jumps. You don't got to think too much. Checkers, how fast? Boom, 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 boom. Oh, I got lucky. I won. I hate to say it, but that's the ego. Now, personally, I don't mind the hobby has opened up to more people. And I don't think a company could be held up by the minority of hobbyists. Oh my. Glad I'm on a pause right now. What's happening? Getting scam calls in the middle of a of the stream is funny shit. That's what that was too. Yeah, 1-866. No, thank you. No, thank you. All right. Scam call. But yeah, as soon as I'm done this, we'll get back to the advice and everything. But that was bathroom pizza. Oh, scam call. Inside joke with Black Rose. Bathroom pizza. No bathroom pizza. Telephone salesman. Oh man. So if they're not, they're either the telephone, they're on the scams on Discord. Oh my. Scams are everywhere. The only sad thing is, they continue because there's a small percentage of people that crap works on. Checker players. I try not to be crude because this is the elitist attitude that people in the hobby talk about. Like, there's old elitist in the hobby when it comes to like old school. Though a lot of guys that are not on par with the elitist thing pretend that means they're part of it. I'm like, no, I'm a hobbyist. You were part of the majority that came in during the old school. Sorry, dudes. I have to say that to some people. Oh, ego. I'm too funny for my own well-being. Oh, you're a riot. You're a riot, kid. You're a riot. Just I'm fucking laughing here. Ha. A riot. Tell me when you get that shirt. Oh, Coochie. I always gotta check this stuff. I bet he said a few things. I gotta check that. Poor Coochie. I wish he would show up on the art though. I don't exactly know what to do to fix that. Let's see what Coochie's saying. He's probably saying something funny. Oh, of course. Of course. Coochie baby. In fact, the guy goes by the name Coochie. Don't put anything in the hole in the wall. Talk about glory hole. Oh, Gucci. He just said never heard anybody say they hate the module. You got to get out of your basement, my dude. I've been in the hobby since 1987. I've heard a lot of people say they don't like it. I wouldn't say they hate it, but I mean in comparison, saying they don't like it is like saying they hate it. Golden coach worth 50K. You got if you understand that it's worth that. That's good to know. That's good information to know. But for the most part, you feel like you walk at it like nothing. You got to pay attention to so many things in Tomb Wars. It's insane. All right, kids, let's get back to it. It's always good, baby. Always good. Okay. I want to know, this advice is the DM who DM for I thank him for this. He helped me put this together. So I don't want to lie and say this is just my advice. This is his advice, but some of my thoughts, and then me and him coming out saying this is what we deem as good, right? Okay. Advice for Dungeon Masters. Set expectations before the adventure. Tomb of Horrors is unlike a typical AD&D dungeon. Players expecting a steady stream of monsters encounters and straightforward combat may find the experience frustrating if they don't understand what kind of adventure they're entering. So it's good communication. Like you got to tell them what it is they're entering. It is a trap fest. It is not straightforward. It's going to be challenging the mind. You've got to be very clear without spoiling anything. Let the group know they're about to tackle one of the hobby's most famous exploration-based adventures where observation, problem solving, and careful decision making take center stage. It's the next part of advice. Read the entire module first. Never had the module, was too poor, but heard it was challenging but fun. It was tournament module, so it meant to beat people up. Sort of, yeah. I never had the module either at the time. The way I played it was the DM who helped me put this together had the module. He's the guy who had the module. Clearly. I was in the same boat, Bill. I just didn't have I was a kid. I didn't have the money for it. But he had it. So read the entire module first. So necessary for this one. Don't half-ass your way into this one. Just like the players, don't half-ass your way in as a DM. Many rooms interact with later encounters, hidden clues, and the dungeon's overall design. Some traps have consequences beyond the room in which they appear, and certain clues only make sense when viewed as part of the larger dungeon. Reading the module from the beginning to the end before running it will make the adventure flow far more smoothly. Sometimes you can sort of get away with reading, from what I've been told, reading some modules so far in and basically reading what you need to read as you go forward. This is not one of them. Oh, nice, beautiful thing. Be precise with your descriptions. Tomb of Horrors rewards careful observation. Describe exactly what the characters can see, hear, and reasonably perceive without adding details that aren't present or overlooking information the module intends them to notice. So, this is really where you got to be on point because it is challenging the mind and you got to be very accurate, verbally and what you're describing and the information you give out. You can't just half-ass carelessly through this. Just like the players, the DM is challenged to actually communicate all of this correctly. Equally important, avoid answering questions the players haven't actually asked. Providing extra information, even with good intentions, can unintentionally remove much of the adventurous challenge. You really could just give away. It's so easy to give away too much information for this one. So you got to have yourself in check on this. Make notes. Tell yourself what not to say. Be ahead. Tomb of Horrors is one where you want to plan ahead before you run it. Let the dungeon provide the challenge. One of the tomb's greatest strengths is its design. Avoid softening encounters because they appear harsh, but also avoid trying to make them even deadlier because of the module's legendary reputation. Likewise, don't treat the adventure as a competition between the dungeon master and the players. The dungeon itself already provides all the challenge the game needs. Basically, just run it. I do that a lot. They know me by name at the Office Depot. The way I can mark them up, highlight, and put notes on it. Maintain the pace. Players will naturally spend time discussing possibilities. That's an important part of the experience. At the same time, avoid allowing decisions to become extended debate. Keep descriptions clear, answer questions honestly, and encourage the game to continue moving forward. Cut off. This is flow. This is pace and flow. Ode to character talk, basically almost none. Like basically, here's what I tell players. You guys want to talk about what's happening next? Yeah, do it in character. Like just do it in character. Be comfortable with talking in character. Make your plans in character. My players fell for one of the traps and they were teleported to the teleportation to the dungeon naked. It's brutal module. I had all the players run back up the characters pre-gen list. Yes. Even if you play this wisely, it can catch you. Like there's no doubt that Tomb of Horrors is. I think Coochie, you would agree with this, since you actually have experience with it. It's not when I try to tell this to guys earlier. The Tomb of Horrors isn't horror like the ghost is scaring you horror. It should be a better name for it would be the Tomb of Dangers, like the Tomb of challenging dangerous, where death is right in front of you all the time. Yeah, it can be like that if you get careless players. Sometimes that you'll go through that before players learn they have to take it more serious. If they don't adjust, this will just Coochie will tell you if he has experience, he'll know what I'm talking about here. It won't stop. It will keep being a meat grinder if you don't learn right away. Like it doesn't get easier. Like I roll the dice this time, I fail. I roll the dice this time, I fail. I roll the dice this time. Like, dude, you got to start thinking. The next session, well, maybe I'll roll a dice that will get me through this time. Nope, you'll lose characters the same way. It will not stop until you start using this more. Know the AD&D rules. Several encounters rely on AD&D mechanics that may not appear frequently in other adventures. Before running the module, it's worth reviewing rules covering searching, secret doors, trap detection, illusion, illusions, magical effects, saving throws, turning undead, special monster abilities. Having these rules fresh in mind keeps the adventure moving smoothly. I would say my advice, take notes from the game that align with what's happening in this module. A truly horrifying dungeon would aptly be called the Tomb of Modern Politics. You don't lose much hit points, but the characters will get robbed to the bone for yeah. You're funny. Funny. Okay. Slow down important moments. Not every room deserves the same pacing. When the party enters an unusual chamber or discovers something significant, take your time describing it. Allow players to picture the environment before they begin asking questions or making decisions. Again, keep it simple with your descriptions. Don't go too poetic with it, right? A measured pace helps build the tension that makes the tomb memorable. It's just basically when description becomes important, stop, slow down for a second, like breathe, and get it right. Okay. Okay. Can it actually? Oh, is it the deadliest adventure ever written? It is certainly one of the most famous for its. It is one of the most famous for its lethality. Whether it is the single deadliest adventure ever published is largely a matter of opinion, but few modules have earned a reputation as fearsome as the Tomb of Horrors. Oh, get this up here. Okay. Use the illustration booklet. One of the module's distinctive features is its separate illustration booklet. When the adventure calls for it, show the players the appropriate illustrations rather than describing everything verbally. I I hit a I accidentally my thing scrolled ahead without realizing. So use the illustration booklet. One of the most module distinctive features is the separate illustration booklet. When the adventure calls for it, show the players the appropriate illustration rather than describing everything verbally. These images were designed to become part of the experience and help bring several of the tomb's most memorable locations to life. One sec, I'll be right back. Okay, okay, sorry about that. So the illustration book can be important. It's very helpful, and if you do have a hard time describing some things sometimes, or you want to make sure they know what's up, if they got the image played off, it does help, right? That's what the guy who DM for me said. I have to really push this, regardless to my own opinion. I'm married. You got money. I'm married. I really like this word. I hear that. I hear that. Don't forget the atmosphere. The tomb isn't simply a collection of traps. Emphasize the silence, the age of complex, the remains of previous explorers, the strange architecture, and the feeling that every section was carefully engineered by an extraordinary intelligent creator. Its atmosphere is one of the reasons it has remained memorable for decades. So when I say don't forget the atmosphere, here's what I mean by this, guys. You got to point this stuff out. You got to emphasize how silent the place is. You got to point out the age, like, oh, you notice things like how the things are falling off the wall or whatever. The remains, like, if there's like some old equipment that was left behind by somebody who was here and never made it out. You can't just casually hope people just take it in. like without telling details. If you don't make, a lot of DMs do this in a lot of places, but this is old school. It's a great learning lesson early on. You got the atmosphere doesn't just come from nowhere, right? It doesn't come from nowhere. You have to create it. And you create it by mentioning little details that stick out. It's like that, the thing, the rain stuff, right? It's not just rain, it's how things look. You got to remember details. That's what creates an atmosphere, those little seeds. And you don't have to spend a lot of time. It's not like you got to long win this out. You just got to say little details. Like, you notice this down here, you notice this over here. But it's like little seeds of reminders to make people think, right? Remember what the adventure is. The tomb is not trying to simulate a living dungeon filled with monsters going about their daily lives. It is a carefully constructed, magical complex designed to protect Asterix's resting place. Keeping that purpose in mind helps preserve the adventure's unique identity. Okay, this is advice for the players. So that was advice for the dungeon masters, right? Tomb of Horrors, advice for players. 1. Listen carefully. Small details often matter. Descriptions of room. When I say listen, I'm not talking about have the character listen. This is player skill. You listen to what the DM is saying. So listen carefully. Small details often matter, especially here. They really do. The descriptions will have details in there that really are going to help you think and come up with things and understand things. Descriptions of rooms, objects, symbols, and architecture might contain information that becomes important later. Pay close attention to what the Dungeon Master describes before deciding how to proceed. 2. Explore in detail. Like, just do not leave anything behind. The tomb rewards careful exploration. Hidden features, concealed passages, and important clues are scattered throughout the dungeon, making thorough investigation more valuable than rushing ahead. Also, there's no wandering monsters. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. I would say more than that. Oh, well, there's Coochie mentioning it. No wandering monsters. My players were waiting for monsters and we're always on edge. You have to realize they're not coming. So it is let the player, Gary will let you figure it out. But of course, remember what I told the DMs earlier. Don't give out more information. So you don't tell players this, right? But when players figure out no monsters are coming, but this is paying attention. If you're not paying attention, you might be worried about it and not realize it's not happening. So this is really on player skill, not character skill, player skill. And so, yes, pay attention. Keep an accurate map. The dungeon contains hidden passages, misleading routes, unusual connections, and area that can easily confuse explorers. A careful map helps the party understand the layout of the tomb and may reveal opportunities that would otherwise be overlooked. This is old school. So when they say map, it's like you're going to hear the description of the place. Draw it out. You got a mapper, you got a person that might do the mapping, right? They got to draw out what they're being told. And you want that to be accurate. You want that to be accurate. So you start understanding the place. So in case you got to retrack stuff, go back, figure out where things are from where you are, right? Important. Don't assume anything. Many locations deliberately challenge expectations. Something that appears obvious may not be, while an unusual feature may deserve a closer examination. Question first impressions and consider multiple possibilities before acting. Okay, it sounds like common sense, but I've seen a lot of people just not use common sense. So don't assume anything. A lot of people do. Manage your resources. High-level characters possess powerful abilities, but those resources remain limited. Spells, magic items, healing, and other valuable assets become increasingly important as the expedition continues. This is where PvP would be no good to you. So 6, work together. Different characters contribute in different ways, sharing observations, discussing discoveries, and combining class abilities often reveals solutions that no single adventurer would notice alone. 7. Respect its reputation. The Tomb of Horrors has earned its place as one of the most famous adventures in Dungeons and Dragons history. Approach each chamber, object, discovery thoughtfully rather than assuming every obstacle has an obvious solution. 8. Think beyond combat. Many obstacles cannot simply be overcome with weapons or offensive magic. The adventure regularly rewards observation, reasoning, experimentation, and creative problem solving just as much as martial ability. 9. Know that not everything must be solved. One of the tomb's defining characteristics is that not every mystery demands immediate action. Not every strange object must be touched, and not every unusual feature requires investigation. Sometimes choosing to not to interfere with something can be just as important as deciding to explore it. 10. Finally, enjoy the experience. Tomb of Horrors remains one of the most influential adventures ever published because it offers a style of play unlike most fantasy campaigns. Whether the party ultimately succeeds or fails, exploring Asteric's legendary tomb is an experience that is challenged and being remembered by generations of Dungeons and Dragons players. Okay. Let me go over a few small things here. Mechanics. Exploration before initiative. Combat is relatively uncommon compared to most AD&D adventures. Instead, the game revolves around exploration procedures. Players spend much of their time describing exactly what their characters are doing, searching specific areas, examining objects, checking walls, floors, and ceilings, testing unusual features, investigating magical effects. Many encounters are resolved without ever rolling initiative. Searching is an active mechanic. The tomb relies heavily on AD&D's searching procedures. Secret doors, concealed passages, hidden mechanisms, and disguised hazards appear throughout the dungeon. Timing. Okay. Player description comes first. Characters must explain how they investigate an area, while dice rolls support those actions rather than replacing them. Class abilities, particularly the Thief's Trap detection skill and race capable of detecting secret doors, provides important advantages, but they do not automatically reveal every hidden danger. Saving throws matter constantly. Saving throws plays a major role throughout the adventure. Characters may be called upon to resist poison, magical effects, petrification, death magic, breath weapons, spells, other supernatural hazards. Unlike many modern adventures, successful saving throws often determines whether a character avoids an effect entirely rather than simply reducing damage. The environment is heavily magical. Magic influences nearly every section of the tomb. Players encounter illusions, magical barriers, enchanted objects, cursed items, teleportation effects, Kuchi, magical darkness, anti-magic areas, supernatural traps, powerful magic remains useful, but the tomb frequently forces players to think carefully about how and when they rely upon it. Illusions are a core mechanic. Illusions appear repeatedly throughout the adventure and are far more than simple visual tricks. They are used to disguise dangers, conceal important features, alter first impressions, and encourage incorrect assumptions. Recognizing that appearance may be deceptive becomes an important part of exploring the dungeon. Teleportation and false pass. Movement through the tomb is not always straightforward. Teleportation effects, concealed routes, false passages, and misleading choices frequently alter the party's progress. The dungeon often challenges players to determine whether they are actually moving closer to Asteric or being deliberately led astray. Traps are more than mechanical devices. The module's traps extend far beyond hidden pits and falling blocks. Players encounter a combination of magical traps, mechanical traps, environmental hazards, misleading architecture, false choices, illusions, cursed objects. Many of the dungeon's most famous encounters combine several mechanics into a single challenge rather than relying on one simple trigger. The Demi-Lich. The adventure introduced many players to the Demi-Lich, one of the rarest and most powerful forms of undead in AD&D. Unlike traditional Lich, Demi-Lich no longer relies upon a complete physical body and possesses unique supernatural abilities that help make Asurk one of D&D's most memorable villains. Interestingly, Asurk himself occupies only a small portion of the adventure. Most of the module is devoted to reaching him rather than confronting him directly. Save or die hazards. Tomb of Horrors comes from an era of AD&D that freely employed save or die effects and other catastrophic hazards. Some dangers can eliminate a character immediately or inflict consequences that are extremely difficult to reverse. This reflects early AD&D's philosophy that not every threat gradually wears away hit points before becoming dangerous. Hit points aren't the main defense. Many encounters bypass traditional combat entirely. Armor class and large pools of hit points often matter less than recognizing hazards before they are triggered. The adventure regularly challenges players in ways that cannot simply be overcome by absorbing damage. Resource management. I just want to keep throwing this stuff. Although combat is limited, resource management remains central to the expedition. Players must decide when to use spells, scrolls, potions, charged magic items, healing, utility magic. The dungeon steadily drains resources through exploration just as effectively as through combat. Powerful magic isn't an automatic solution. High-level spells and magical items provide many useful options, but the tomb is designed so they do not automatically solve every problem. Many encounters require players to understand the situation first before deciding which abilities or items are appropriate. Success usually comes from combining good judgment and magical resources rather than relying on either alone. I don't want to talk. I do have notes for the last encounter, but I am going to purposely avoid bringing them up. I think some things should remain secret. I do have these notes for. I even put maybe. I put maybe on them. But as we get here, I'm going to personally choose to not. So last thing worth mentioning. Originally a tournament adventure, before becoming S1, Tomb of Horrors, the adventure debuted at Origins 1 in 1975 as tournament scenario. Groups weren't simply trying to survive, they were also scored on how far they progressed, what they discovered, and how well they performed compared to other teams. That tournament heritage explains why Dungeon is so carefully constructed and why nearly every encounter feels deliberately crafted. Tournament play is your one-to-one time, your shared world. Tournament play is the stuff those people lean into. That's what they're doing. Like minus the point thing, that's really what you're getting. Surprisingly small, despite the legendary reputation, Tomb of Horrors is not a sprawling mega dungeon. Almost every room is different. One reason the adventure remains memorable is that it rarely repeats itself. Rather than relying on a variation of the same encounter, nearly every significant room introduces a new idea, challenge, or surprise. Players often remember individual rooms decades after playing because each has its own distinct identity, the images and all this. You just got to understand just how much work went into this thing. It's small. Because it's small means it's not multi-floor. They put a lot of work into a little bit and got them. It's what you call getting the most out of the least. The dungeon has its own logic. Although the tomb can appear unpredictable at first, its design follows a consistent philosophy. The traps, puzzles, architecture, and deception all reflect Asurk's careful planning. Understanding the creator's mindset often reveals that the dungeon is more deliberate than it first appears. So you can learn a bit. You got to understand, the dungeon is based on the mindset of Asterisk, and you can learn as characters, like with your characters, a lot more about him going in. Pay attention to this stuff because it can tell you a lot about what you're going to encounter. I mean, it really can. It really, really can. It can put you ahead of the game too. The tomb reflects Asterisk's personality. The dungeon serves as more than a resting place. It's an extension of Asterisk himself. Its elaborate tricks, confidence, theatrical presentation, and carefully layered deceptions reflect a creator who expected intelligent challengers and took satisfaction in testing them. In many ways, the tomb functions as Asterisk's final masterpiece. Replace Asterisk with Gary Gygax. I would say more than that, my opinion. More than just traps. The module is often described simply as the trap dungeon, but the description overlooks much of what it makes it memorable. Illusions, riddles, magical effects, hidden architecture, strange objects, environmental hazards, and mysteries all play significant roles alongside the traps. Its variety is one of the reasons it has remained influential. Dark. All right, Bill, you take care of yourself. I love you. I'm glad you appreciate it. Go have a good night, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Remember, next week, Beck Me, baby. More Mysteria. Right? I know you look forward to that. Okay. Dark Gygaxian humor. Gary Gygax occasionally injected a dry sense of humor into the dungeon. Some encounters feel almost like practical jokes played on overconfident adventurers. Rather than comic relief, these moments reinforce the tomb's central theme that assumptions can be dangerous. Treasure isn't its legacy. Although the adventure begins with stories of incredible riches, Tombs of Horrors is rarely remembered for its treasures. The lasting reputation comes from its design, atmosphere, unforgettable encounters, and the challenge it presents rather than rewards waiting at the end. Even though there's some secret wealth in there. It's not always. It's almost go back to that Gygaxian humor gimmick, right? The illustration booklet. The module includes one of TSR's early illustration booklets, allowing the Dungeon Master to show players artwork depicting key locations. This presentation style was innovative for its time and influenced many later TSR adventures that adopted similar visual aids. A test left behind. The tomb can be viewed as Asterisk's final challenge to anyone bold enough to seek him out. Rather than simply protecting a burial chamber, the dungeon feels like a carefully constructed examination designed by one of the world's most brilliant and dangerous spellcasters. That perspective helped explain why every section appears so deliberate. Okay, that was the Tomb of Horrors. Hope you liked it. And Bill pretty much made it to the end. I'm really happy he got right here to the end. Even other than some little bit of fluff at the end there, he heard every detail. Coochie ran it, so Coochie, I'm happy Coochie was. See, Coochie, I love having people around that have either ran the games. I like Philo. I love when him and Zeg were around here for Cyberpunk, the first one, because I know they know their shit. And I'm never being two-faced about anything I'm covering, right? And when I have people around that know the shit I'm talking about, I'm actually quite confident and happy because they bring some security of proof that I'm on point with what I'm saying. I know you know Tomb of Horrors well, so do I. I know you know everything I said there is accurate because I actually played it and I sat down with a guy who knows it really well. So there you go. But I'm pretty sure you would say that's good coverage of Tomb of Horrors. That's spot on. And the advice, I mean, I went over it like 20 times, man. You're not going to get better than that. You can't. It's not me trying to brag. It's not just, I just think it was just coming up with a good advice piece of list without giving everything away. Because you get to a certain point where you start giving too much away. My advice for both players and DMs is be accurate in the explanations, pay attention. These are all good things because it's meant to be this. And it's just giving people advice up front to do it as quick as they can. Get the descriptions out properly. Get players already in the zone, and maybe avoid some of the outrageous meat grind that like your players went through. I have seen groups that understand what they're getting into before they get into it. It's not like they're cheating. They just get it a little earlier than some other groups. Like some guys, when you first bring them into this, don't get it. You do got to teach players what they're getting into, because you do get some players. When you say you've never heard somebody hates it, coochie, I just got to say I've met a lot of people, like shitloads of people in the old school around D&D that played this module and ran it. And the guys who run it love it. The players that play into the mind game, that enjoy that, obviously love it if they're into that. Not every person who was someone who absolutely caved in said they hated it. But for the people that were sour, but some were just like, oh, wasn't the biggest fan. There were some people like said, yeah, fucking it's too hard, it sucks. Which is saying they hate it, right? There you go. So hate usually means, it's a strong dislike of something. That's what that was. I read an article, Gary Gygax created the Tomb of Horrors in 1975 specifically to challenge high-level players who had become overconfident in AD&D. He never needed a dungeon that couldn't be solved by force. Well, Kuchak, you must have missed the fluff. I've actually said this twice now, but you're right. You're not right. You're not wrong at all. But he created the challenge, and that's exactly you're almost saying word for word. Here's what I mean in the fluff. Go back to it here. A definitive test of player skill by 1975, Dungeons and Dragons had grown far beyond Gary Gygax's own Greyhawk campaign. Stories circulated throughout the hobby about high-level adventurers carrying enormous collections of magic items and overcoming nearly every challenge placed before them. Rather than simply designing stronger monsters, Gygax created an adventure that tested something entirely different: the skill of the players themselves. The Tomb of Horrors became the definitive published expression of Gary's belief that success in D&D should depend on as much on player judgment, observation, and caution as character statistics. Instead of asking, can your character do it, the adventure asks, can you? Right? So it is to challenge. So Origins I, 1975. The Tomb of Horrors was originally created for the Origins I convention, 1975, already bearing the name Tomb of Horrors. Tournament adventurers had different goals from home campaigns. Every group needed to face the same challenges so performance could be compared fairly, rather than relying. Oh, here's the one. Sorry. Gary wanted to challenge veteran players. This is what I said in the fluff. Gary wanted to challenge veteran players. Gary Gygax later explained that he designed the tomb with highly experienced players in mind, including people such as Rob Kuntz, we know on X, and Ernie Gygax. These players had survived years of Greyhawk adventures and had developed a reputation for overcoming almost anything a dungeon master could devise. The tomb was created as the ultimate examination of experienced play, not because Gary disliked powerful characters, but because he wanted to see whether player skill still mattered when combat and magic could no longer solve every problem. So, I mean, I spelled it out there in 3 different sections, but yeah, he says he pretty much says exactly that. That's the idea in 1975. It was created to challenge people that were really, really already good at certain things. And this was just years of doing the Greyhawk dungeon stuff. It's like, okay, well, you've overcome this. What would challenge players like that, right? So there you go. I made sure to put everything in this baby. Everything. I covered everything. I went over the interviews. And I made sure I didn't skip a beat. I never skip a beat with the flow. But I'm happy with that. I hope you guys are happy with that. It's more of an educational, thing on this one. I don't know if you guys have much to say. I knew Coochie would just relate with it a lot after he started telling me he ran it. I don't mind the Tomb of Horrors. Personally, I would never run modules. Just not my cup of tea. I don't mind the challenging part. I totally agree. I love the concepts. I love principles that Gary put in behind Tomb of Horrors. I do like that stuff. I never said researching or reading about modules was ever a bad thing to help educate you if the material is there. It's like brainstorming. Um, but still, right? That's just imagine you play with your friends for a long time and they've overcome all your challenges. You'd start advancing what you're making, right? And that's the end result of what Gary's doing there. I've done similar things, depends on the group. I know guys that have made some very challenging adventures where it's my dungeons without the Tomb of Horror were like the Tomb of Horror. Like really, really small, usually, not multiple floor, very grindy, and people hated them. People liked the game, but they just hated they found them really hard. Right. But I hope people enjoyed the coverage of Tomb of Horrors. Black Rose, you've been educated, my friend. Philo, you've been educated, my friend. Bill, I think, probably knew quite a bit about it, but I hope there were some details in there. Coochie knew it pretty well. Good, Coochie. I don't know what else. Let's see. Let's go over what's coming up. The important stuff. I hope to surprise you with the Conan stuff. The Dungeon Survival, tomorrow is the Dungeon Survival Guide, Wilderness Survival Guide, and the Manual of Planes. Right. And then on the 7th, I'm going to be covering Old School Essentials and the OSR. Next week, this is all the D&D stuff, mind you. Now, this Saturday coming up, the August the 8th, I'll be covering the tabletop role-playing game Marble Superheroes. But next week, on the continuation of Old School D&D, I'll be covering Lankmar, the AD&D 1E version. And then on the 13th, I'll be covering OD&D and Beckby, because this is going to be my second stream on these two games in combination, because the last stream I did on them was, I do them together, these two editions. But I'll be doing a second look stream. And then on the 14th, I'll be doing Deities and Demigods. On August 15th, I'll be covering the tabletop role-playing game The Morrow Project. And then on the 19th, members only Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. August 20th, I'll be doing more old school D&D, and that will be one-to-one time as shared worlds. The tournament stuff we were talking, like really get into detail on that. After that, on the 21st, I'll be covering 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons. On the 22nd, I'll be covering the Immortal, the Invisible War. Now, of course, my off-script streams are every Tuesday. I'm just not mentioning them, right? But they're just like every Tuesday. The next the second members only stream for August is on the 26th, and that will be the Most Guard role-playing game. On August 27th, I'll be covering Conan and Rid Sonya, the modules by TSR. So, Coochie, I hope you learned something there. That's going to be new for you, I hope. Then on the 28th, I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons. Well, sort of version of it. Basic Fantasy RPG, which is sort of like a basic version of like WotC D20, something in that vein. And then on the 29th will be the last stream of August. I'll be covering the tabletop role-playing game Over the Edge. Should be fun. Should be lots of fun. Tonight, I got to read a lot of The Burning Wheel. Sam OG, if you hear this, I'll be doing a lot of reading on The Burning Wheel. This Sunday, I am free, Mr. Sam OG, if you do hear this, to consider character creation. Yeah, the Warhammer Fantasy. Well, I know you're waiting for that one, dude. Black Rose. This is the game you know, and my plan, even if it's just me and you, members only, because I only need you for the. I would love to have other members there. I do want people to sign up as members. I do get a lot of great member only content coming in September. I don't want to say yet what it is, but it's going to be fucking hot stuff. But I might be doing a special 3 members only for September, right? We're really starting to put some work into that to attract some people to the members list. I want to put some great games in there. I'm going to do 3 for September. But Black Rose, I'm going to impress you on the Warhammer Fantasy stuff. It's finally your game, baby. I don't get an impression on second edition. Like, we both know second edition. You know I know my shit, so I'm not even worried about that. But this is your Cyberpunk. This is your game. And for every other guy that I impress that knows their stuff, like Zag and Philo knows Cyberpunk, they were happy. Coochie knows the fucking Tomb of Horrors because he ran it. He's happy. Bill loved Mystera. He's going to be happy. He's going to be really happy with the Beckme coverage. But you are the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay guy. I know that's one of your favorite tabletop roleplaying games. You'll be happy with me. And then with the Sam OG thing, I'll be working on character creation this Sunday with him, maybe, if he has time. He put out a video about well, if you heard what I said already, Black Rose, he put a video out about the ogre thing. My brain's melted. The quantum ogre. So I talked about that at the start. And that was sort of a response, not to what he said directly. I mean, I had no problem with his take on it. But it was just my response to the topic, right? What, like, my thoughts on the topic. Because it's a topic I thought about over and over again, not a response to him. Okay, dude. Okay. I think that's it, Black Rose. I think we're good. All right, dude, I'm going to call it. I'll let you say goodnight, but I'm going to call it there. I hope you enjoyed that, because I know you're sitting back, relaxing, and listening in. I hope anybody that listened in enjoyed tonight's stream. And tomorrow we are going to cover Dungeoneer Survival Guide, Wilderness Survival Guide, and the Manual of Planes. That should be fun. Tomb of Horrors was fun. I get all this stuff in there. Pretty happy with that outcome. Okay. All right, Black Rose. If you're not, if you're busy with the kids, I totally get it. Oh, all right. Thanks for the introduction to Tomb of Horrors. Good night, everyone. Good night. It was interesting. Okay. Love you guys. Take